these.
Okay, you're there. I think it goes.
Here's my baby.
He's so
It's recording, does it?
It's cute.
Thank you.
All right. Good. Yours good.
No power dancer.
Welcome to the San Juan School District Board of Education meeting. Today is Tuesday, April 7th,
If you need a babysitter.
and it is 3 p.m. We have in attendance today board members Ron Nilsson, Lucille Cody, Colleen Benali, myself, Nan Barton, Superintendent Fitzgerald, Business Administrator Jacob Swanson, and other San Juan School District staff. Thank you for joining us. First item today is to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll motion to approve the
Okay,
agenda.
Lucille has motioned to approve the agenda. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All right,
Second the motion.
Ron Nelson seconds. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. We'll go ahead and start with the spotlight report, and I'll turn the time over to you, Dr. Fitzgerald.
Okay, thank you. Today, I just wanted to highlight one of the many plans that we have for school safety, and this is something that was updated this past year. So we often talk about our emergency preparedness plans with our schools. We also talk about our standard response protocols, which happen while an incident is happening. We also have our incident command processes, whether all the way from the district level all the way down to the school level. But one component that takes some pieces from all of those are called our emergency recovery plans. So that's a new requirement under state legislation this past year. They are due by June 30th, so we are supporting schools to create those. And I think San Juan knows a lot about emergency recovery plans when you consider the plans that we created during the COVID pandemic. Those would be considered, components of those emergency recovery plans. So they're really looking at any incident that occurs in a school, not just a violent incident, but it could be a fire or a pandemic or many other things that happen in our school buildings. These emergency recovery plans include academic recovery, health, well-being, and behavioral recovery. So our crisis management when a crisis occurs at the school to give those additional supports with school counseling and mental health services. It also includes business services recovery. So what does that look like and what roles does the business office have? What roles does facilities management have in recovering? And that's under the physical and structural recovery. So while we have all of these in a number of different places, this is an actual plan for each school we're creating that some of the things will be done on a district level and then they can tweak it, but some of them will be very specific to the school. So just wanted to make the board aware of this requirement as we develop these plans, and they will be part of our long-term safety planning that we have, and just happy to answer any questions you might have about them.
All right, Colleen.
Which one do I pick from? I was just going to ask if admin, like principals, have they reviewed or have been able to review and answer, or not yet?
It's an ongoing process. The state just barely rolled out these additional attachments, and they did a training for school safety specialists, and I actually was on the panel for that for the whole state. Was a virtual meeting, was able to share some things that we have done in San Juan, as we've done recovery plans in a multiple different ways. So I think we have a little bit of an edge that we know kind of what these look like, have planned for many incidences in the past, whether we've needed them or not. So the school administrators have seen them. Again, our district safety committee is the one working on these, and then the schools will fill in those requirements so we can get them submitted. And they're like our other plans, is that we're always improving them. No plan that we have is ever just a one and done, like, woohoo, we did it June 30th, we have all of our plans check marked. No, it's every year we get new ideas, we have different incidents that occur across the district, so we provide additional feedback, and our parents are, at school community councils give us ideas. And the state, obviously, LT Erickson is our district safety director, so he's been helping lead this effort, so we appreciate his efforts with that as well. But our hope is to have all of those at least to the degree needed to be submitted for this year, and then we will continue to work on them.
So I assume this is kind of a scaffold, but we have some flexibility with each different school and its individual needs.
Yes, there are some requirements for the plans that you need to cover each of those areas that I just mentioned. But then within those areas, they have some flexibility for what that might look like. And, you know, things may change. You know, a school fire could look very different than, you know, a recovery plan after the incident, you know, that we've had at some of our schools in the past, where we can come back to the building, you know, within a couple of days. That looks very different than when part of a building you can't ever re-enter because it has to be rebuilt. So I think that's something to consider, is these are plans for how do we recover, not necessarily specifically each individual incident that occurs.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I just had a follow-up. It says health and well-being and behavioral recovery. I did look and read over the form, and I guess my question would be, is a simple question, are they asked a simple question of, are you okay? How can I get you help you through this? And, you know, a little bit of counseling session before we go back into the everyday things that we do in the schooling. So is that that's part of the plan? Or
That's part of the recovery plan, and we already do have a written crisis response plan with a crisis response team, that when an incident occurs, whether that, you know, is an unfortunate, you know, death in our community, or, you know, something that happens at the school site, that all looks a little different, but that crisis management team that we have helps make those decisions in tandem with the superintendent, assistant superintendent, you know, our directors, our school safety director, and school administration, so that we're making the best response and giving the best. And that looks different school by school and event by event. So for example, you know, we do these every year. Unfortunately, we have incidents that occur every year. So what that might look like in a high school looks very different than maybe an elementary class, right? So you're looking at the developmental age of the child that's involved, the severity, how many, you know, how much relationships there were, what occurred, and if it occurred over a break versus, you know, at a school event. Like, those are all types of things that go into that planning. So, yeah, I hope that answers that for you.
I guess another question would be, once these are submitted, do the people at school receive training related to the current plan?
Yes, and recovery plans look to some degree a little different than emergency preparedness, or so the levels of training changes. So emergency preparedness plan, some elements, anyone who works in that building needs to have that. Some elements they don't, because they wouldn't be the person doing that component of it. Like reunification, everyone needs to be trained on the different areas of reunification because they may be participating in it. Same with your standard response protocol plans. Everyone who might go in that building, including our parents, need to have some understanding of that plan. A recovery plan works a little different because it's a plan that's going to be adjusted. It's going to be run more by administration or different district directors or at psychs, that type of thing. So the training looks different. They're aware of parts of the plan, but and many of these plans are not just public-facing documents either because of the safety risks. So yes, so you know, components of that recovery plan would be you know, our staff would be trained on that, but a number of those elements are so specific. So, for example, when we have had an individual who's passed away in a community, whether it was a student or a teacher, we bring everyone together, and that's really where a lot of that occurs is, here's the individual circumstance, here's what's going into place, here are the resources available, whether it's right now immediate triage, or whether that's a month from now, here's a way to check in and make sure everyone's okay. So that's part of that plan.
Thank you. I know it's very involved, but I appreciate you being willing to clarify these things for us so that everyone can see how it works. Okay, we'll move on to the next thing. So we'll invite Dr. Derek Begay and Brenda Whitehorse to come up and present to us regarding the Unity Club's plan to attend the National Unity Conference.
Sure. I hope you all had a great spring break. It's good to be here. If you can just pull up those documents that we submitted. Our Native Youth Council were not able to attend today, but we are doing this presentation for the Unity Club for Whitehorse High School, and then also San Juan School District Native Youth Community Council. And this is our compact, and I call it our travel compact, but it's also like a travel agreement. So since the students are attending a professional conference, we do have a conduct contract for them and enable for them to participate in the conference. They have to attend all sessions, be punctual, have a buddy system going so that they are never alone in any part of the convention center. And then also their code of conduct. And we do talk about the code of conduct quite a bit. And like their honor code, and then also having respect not only for their peers but also for the presenters. And then the students do engage in a lot of discussion and participation in the sessions that they attend, so they represent the school district. And with that, we ask them to be professional in their responses and then to be appropriate in how they not only represent themselves, but how they represent the school district. And then also to adhere to all curfew policies of the conference, and then also all of the curfew items that we have put in place for them. But in our case, the students are never alone. We're always right there. So actually, when I'm overseeing students, when we attend conferences, I actually wait in the hall and make sure that they all go into their rooms. And then we call them, and then we have room checks. So we check on them periodically throughout the night so they're never left alone. And then they can call us or ask any questions. And if they want to go and maybe get like some snacks, we usually go with them so that they're not anywhere alone on their own. So safety and supervision of students is like a priority, and I'm sure that's how it is for the Whitehorse Unity Club as well. But of course, we know that we are dealing with students, and for that reason, we're on a trip with them. We treat it as a professional conference, and we make sure that the communication and all of the curfew requirements are mentioned beforehand, before students agree, and then we have the youth and parent agreement. And we've created this contract based on your recommendations, so thank you for helping us design this.
And then, so this is in consideration for students from the NYCP and Whitehorse High School Unity Club to attend the conference in Oklahoma City. And it'll be from July 10th to the 14th. The only difference with basically the cost breakdown is Whitehorse is requesting an extra day to go prior so that the students who are participating in the trip would go to visit some of the colleges in that area as well too. So there's, you'll see, says July 9th to the 14th. And that's, our July 8th is their travel day, and the 9th would be the day that they go to tour. So that is their requests, and so we kind of went through, we had several other schools interested, and just because of the costs, the timing of the requests, some of those costs have continued and still continue to exceed what our budgets were allowed, but they kind of built that in to address how many students would go with the number of chaperones. So you'll see the difference, but there's not much difference between the NYCP program and the Whitehorse High School, and kind of they've collaborated over the past basically 2 months to get this presentation for you guys for your approval. And again, it's an opportunity for students to express their goals and continuing leadership within their roles, not only within their school sites, but throughout the district as well too. So, and then we can open up for any questions or clarification if needed.
Is there a specific amount of students that are attending currently, or is that still open right now?
So right now, with Whitehorse, I believe they're looking at taking 4 students and 2 chaperones, and with NYCP, Brenda can correct me if I'm wrong, 4 students and 2 chaperones. So it'll be 8 total students and 4 chaperones as well.
Okay. I did just want to point something out on the contract. It still says Phoenix on one section instead of Oklahoma. So I don't.
It still says Phoenix instead of the.
Just mid-year.
We will change
Yeah.
that.
So just if you want to just fix that, but it should be fine. Go ahead.
I have a couple of questions. So this is financed by what budget?
So for a Native Youth Community Project grant, it's through the grant funding, and it is written into our grant for student leadership. For Whitehorse High School, it's through fundraising, and then also additional Unity Club dollars that they still have. They didn't go to the mid-year conference, so they still have all their funding.
It's coming through that grant money. And the chaperones, is that a male and a female chaperone?
I believe for Whitehorse High School, all of the participants that are going are female, so I think it's 2 female chaperones. And do you know if that's correct? I don't know if I got
Yes,
the list. So.
it's two female chaperones for Whitehorse, and then Tony Pelt and myself for the Native Youth Council. We do have 1 male student, and that's Tyler Holiday from Monument Valley.
So I know that on these trips, much of the cost, it's expensive to have adults with students. So do you feel that is the appropriate number of chaperones that it should be for? So we're talking 8 students, right?
There's actually 6 total individuals attending for the Native Youth Council, so we have 4 students and 2 chaperones.
So total students between the whole group is it 8 or is it 10?
Well, for our group, the total participants will be 6. 4 students and 2 chaperones, and then
Yeah.
for Whitehorse,
It's 4 and 2 as well. So
Anyway,
So
I-
16.
Yeah.
I would just put it out there as a disclaimer that I'm always a little concerned with the amount of adults versus students. If there's, I think we definitely need the appropriate amount, but I have seen it where I think we may have more adults than are needed, and it's very expensive, so I don't know what the appropriate number is. I do like to see a male and a female if we have mixed students, so that you have, a mix of chaperones, but anyway.
I do like having 2 responsible adults so that there's that extra coverage no matter how many students there are. I think there should always be at least 2 adults, but that's just my opinion.
But in this case, you'd have about 8 students and 4 adults.
But they're traveling separately.
Yeah, they're not
Oh, they're all
together.
There's they're 2
Okay.
separate groups. I think that's the one thing we need to clarify, is these are 2 separate groups traveling separately. So they're doing the college tour with their 2 chaperones and their 4 students, where the Native youth leaders are not doing the college tour, so they're not even flying out together. So they will spend some time together at the conference, but there are different activities even between the 2 groups of what they're doing.
So the NYC program, students are going to be, not going to be attending the conference full-time. Is that correct?
No,
We
they will be.
attend
Oh,
the
okay.
conference the entire time.
Okay.
It's just that the Whitehorse High School Unity Club is traveling a day earlier so they can do the college
Okay.
tour.
College.
Okay, so it's the
Yeah.
Unity that wants to go with the NYC the day before. Okay. Gotcha.
And what we have been doing for a number of years is having the national conference, the NYCP. That's part of their leadership grant, is because they're developing them as leaders, so they've attended. But Whitehorse has funding because they weren't able to attend the mid-year, so they're saying, we'd like to use our funding for this instead. So that's why they're coming.
Gotcha.
There's less students than the mid-year Unity. And I think with the mid-year Unity, we've had more students attend because it's more of a weekend conference.
Yeah.
And so I think that's more of a challenge in terms of chaperones, but with only 4 students, I think we'll be okay. Knock on wood,
I just was wondering if we could kind of get a report after the fact. I think it would be exciting to hear from some
The
of these
students
students.
did prepare slides
Yeah,
that we have, so,
Okay.
and we did include that in Canva.
yeah.
And so I don't know if you've had time to review those slides. Quite a few of our Native Youth Council members have graduated, and they are now attending either a trade school. We have one that's in the military. We have some that are attending college classes. And so this, they're wanting to go because the conference provides leadership opportunities for youth. but it really helps them to concentrate on local issues, local community issues. And that's what I like about the Unity Conference, because they look at problems within Native American communities, and then as a youth, kind of looking at those problems and finding ways to not only address them, but also to advocate for themselves in terms of like funding and opportunities for colleges, increased activity with cultural awareness and language preservation. But it also helps them really build the communication skills and looking towards the future. It helps them build an interest in careers. And they really did want you to see this little video clip. I don't know if we'll have time, but we can view a part of it just so that you can see what the conference was like last year.
Yeah, let's probably do maybe 3 minutes of the video.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Victor Agnese of the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation.
And I'm Margaret Blackbird of the Omaha Tribe of Nebraska. And welcome to San Diego. Welcome.
Mason, all you have to do is click the X in the window when it says, just
Upper
up there
right
in the corner.
Hi, I'm Victor Agnese of the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation.
And I'm Margaret Blackbird of the Omaha Tribe of Nebraska. And welcome to San Diego. Welcome to Unity News. Local partners, Unity staff, the executive committee, and volunteers have been working hard getting ready for the largest gathering of Native youth in the country.
Welcome to sunny, wonderful San Diego, California.
That far is in each in your community. Maybe you have a different role, a different purpose, but we all have that powerful connection.
For nearly 40 years now, Running Strong has been working with Native communities to meet their needs of today and the needs of tomorrow.
I'm honored to be a 2025 to 2026 Unity Earth Ambassador.
We are privileged to represent the rich cultures and histories of the Kumeyaay Nation, the Luiseño, the Capeño, and the Cahuilla.
This is for the children of the past, present, future, and the inner child in us all. When you heal, when you rise also for me.
I really believe that we are the seeds that they tried to bury, and education became my light through the concrete. And I think education could heal so many things in our community.
I'm also the first Native American announcer of the NBA. I got this bolo tie made for me by my cousin Rennie. She does beadwork, and it has an oak tree in it and a medicine wheel around it. And I was like, that's perfect. I can wear that on TV to show that we're still here, to show that Native Americans can be on television. Unity Strong!
Missing Native children have to be in danger around here.
Thank you, Mason.
So we do have like some strong youth leaders that kind of evolved from Unity. So like one is Taylor Che-Begay, who does a lot of public speaking and does like master of ceremony for huge events. We also have Sosala at City, who dances and performs powwow. But she was actually part of the culture night in San Diego. And so like a lot of her students participate. And then we had Noah Begay. His group was chosen to present their ideas in terms of solving a community issue for one of the Native communities that they were researching. And so like our students are really getting inspired and motivated to do more for their communities. And then also they're finding their voice to advocate for themselves and for their peers. And I think that's one of my biggest reason for supporting youth leadership conferences is so that our youth can advocate and have their own voice in terms of voicing their ideas and their needs and what will make education better for them.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, we appreciate you being here to present today.
Thank you. It's good to see you all. I'm going to watch every video, just to let you know.
Yeah, she's saying, got
We're
my eyes
watching.
on you. We'll go ahead and invite Dr. Erickson to come up and speak to us.
Well, thank you for having me today. If you looked in the packet, the Native American Health Amendments is 66 pages, so I'm going to try and just give you a quick overview of what it is. And so there are 3 states that have, before Utah submitted their appeal for this, or I think the word is the proposed amendments, that have already received approval to use Medicaid funding for traditional services for our Native youth. And so the state of Utah submitted this back in November of 2024. It's been almost a year and a half. And I keep contacting them to see if there are any updates. And they said, well, when we have them, it'll be on, you'll see it on this website. And I keep going. And so I asked them if it would be helpful if our school board were to write just a letter of support that would go to be sent to the office of the administrator, Dr. Mehmet Oz, and just the support that we would like to have for that would help support the program and allow for greater access to those services for our youth. And so as you go through this, the demonstration, they call it the Medicaid Reform 115 demonstration, which came from the passage of the Senate Bill 181 Native American Health Amendments during the 2024 general session. And the purposes of this is the amendment would allow Medicaid reimbursement for traditional healing services provided by traditional healing providers in eligible facilities to Native American enrollees. And so the school district has worked with UNHS and provided funding for the traditional services, but the funding structure for the district was very different even a few years ago. There was a lot more money with ESSER funding, and that kind of allowed for a lot of things to be done. And so the purpose of the letter, and it is an action item tonight, but as you can see, they're not in a rush to do it, but we would like to send them something that says we're thinking about this, and it's very important to our Native American youth in our community, and to be able to have access to those services and their families. And just a reminder that we're thinking about this, and maybe to get them working on it a little quicker, because 18 months almost is a long time. I know that they don't work very fast, but, and this is all part of, because of some reduced funding and different things, especially, a lot of the federal funding that has changed, this would allow us to continue to provide same level of service that we have been, but living within the means of our current budget and future budgets that at least we're hoping to have that funding from the state. And so, and it kind of goes into a little bit of why we think it's important. And so this is a draft letter. It could, the board could look over it and change it, decide not to send it, but it's just kind of a proposal that we'd like to let them know that maybe you should get on this and get it done. Because it's really for the youth and families in our community.
Thank you. I'd just like to invite anybody on the board with questions or comments related to that. I'm perfectly happy to sign this. I just need to know what the board wants.
I did have a question. This would go strictly through UNHS though, because they have the provider to do so, which would be Ernest Sosi III, correct? Or
It's whoever, so it would just be whoever's has those providers, yeah. So it wouldn't be a specific person, but UNHS does provide those services, so.
But it wouldn't go through us directly because I'm not.
No, it would just be, it would go directly through them.
It has to go through
They would be able to provide the services.
Right.
It may be that we would work with them as part of the school-based services that we provide, that along with the school-based mental health services that we provide access to social workers and mental health therapists, that some of those services could be provided in the schools, but it wouldn't, they would just directly bill Medicaid for those services.
Gotcha.
And then for those that do not have Medicaid and want those services, that's something that we could look at the budget and see, if we're able to figure that out and provide those services to those that don't have Medicaid.
Okay. And we just need to light that fire.
Yes.
Okay.
Just a reminder that we're thinking about this and we're eager to, there's 3 other states that are already doing it. So the precedent's already been set. Even when I contact the Utah State Medicaid, they really haven't heard much either. So I think it would be a good reminder for them that this is important.
Can you tell me which other states it was?
What's that?
Which other states, the other 3 do you
I
know of?
I think the ones that I know Montana was one of them. I think it was either North or South Dakota and maybe Minnesota, Oklahoma. I can't remember what exactly what those are, but I could find out.
Okay, thank you.
Not New Mexico, because this is like $300 a head per child, and what they do is they give it to the child in New Mexico for traditional healing
So they give
services.
them payment directly to the child and then they pay the
practitioners.
The practitioner of their choice, not
Yes,
specified.
Of their choice.
Yeah, and it would still be of their choice because all it would allow is they could choose who would be their service provider as long as they meet the conditions of that they're certified. And I think it mentions there that eligible for, so traditional healing services provided by traditional healing providers in eligible facilities. So it could be more than one eligible facility, more than one provider. They would be able to choose who the provider is, and then they could bill Medicaid for those.
Who they choose to go to.
Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
So, Lucille, would you just kind of say that out loud for the rest of us so that we can kind of understand how New Mexico operates with
Well,
this similar?
I have experience with my
Yeah.
foster kids.
Okay.
So they get traditional healing services every year, and they're paid $300 to go see whoever they feel comfortable with as far as a medicine man or a healing practitioner.
Okay.
Or for behavioral health reasons.
Thank you for sharing. I just wanted that on the record because I know you were kind of sharing your experience with that. So anything we can do to support our students being able to access these supports, and also us being able to afford enabling that.
Yes.
So, does that make sense? Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Okay. I'm going to let Jeff Wingett and Paul Murdoch explain to us what's going on with this elementary math curriculum, because it sounds like it's a little more complicated than we thought initially, but tell us all about
I
it.
think we're all in a good place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you pull up the presentation? So, we were several years out from our last math adoption. We were paying year to year. We really needed to do an elementary math adoption. But we waited a little bit because the state of Utah was updating the standards. They were creating new standards, so we had to wait until that was finished to go through the adoption process. So what I want to do now is just walk you through the process we went through, and then Paul will talk to you about where we're going from here. Next slide. There we go. So we had 3 curricula that we reviewed. We reviewed Accelerate Learning, STEM Scopes Math, Amplify, Desmos Math, and Great Minds Eureka Math Squared. And these were all, we asked the teachers what programs that they wanted us to look at, as long as they were on the RIMS list already. And these were the 3 that they wanted to look at. Next one.
You just jumped to this side, so
Yeah.
there.
Thank you. And so, yes, we surveyed the teachers and administrators about what programs they wanted to evaluate. We made sure they were on RIMS. And then each school was given the opportunity to pilot each one of those programs. We secured free pilots from all 3 vendors. And so we had several teachers around the district conduct full-year pilots of all 3 programs. And so we were able to get feedback from them on that process. Then on February 6th, all 3 of the programs had an hour to present virtually about what their program was to every teacher in the district. So we had teachers, admin, and stuff on that call. Then we collected feedback from the teachers after that presentation. And then on March 18th, we convened an adoption committee, and that had stakeholders from every school. So we had teachers, administrators, paras, and parents all represented, plus several people from the admin team on that adoption committee. So we heard 90-minute live presentations from all 3 of the vendors. Then we filled out our rubric and we made the decision based off of that.
And we had discussion
Yeah,
during
and
that
had
time as
discussion
well.
with that. So, and then we used the rubric to decide which way to go. And Paul actually ran that meeting, so he
So
best to talk about it.
this is a rubric looking at, on a scale of 1 to 4, ranking each of those with conceptual understanding, procedural fluency, active learning, hierarchy of math, the CRA progression. So that means from concrete to representational to abstract. Then we had discourse, how do the materials talk about math? There's a lot that's coming up in the standards about error analysis. So they give an example of a problem that's either solved correctly or incorrectly. How do you work through that, and how do you know if it's correct or not? And then vertical alignment from grade level to grade level, plus teacher supports that are provided by the curriculum. So
we actually sought input from the teachers, including some of our secondary math teachers, to write this rubric to make sure that it aligned with the goals that we had as a district.
So then, when all the results came in, we had Desmos Math that came out as the highest ranked curriculum, highest ranked as the total number of points, and then the average number of points per response as well. I think that, and if the board has heard of anything, the 3 different curriculums came out pretty close. And I think that's just a result of having 3 really good curriculums that we looked at. But Desmos was the one that did come up there. And then Jeff helped facilitate, but we met with Desmos Math and the school principals about a week after the fact to really ask in-depth questions, really talk about what does this look like, how does the implementation go, any of those concerns that may have come up. And I feel like our administrators are in a better place with that understanding there, and they were able to answer all of those. So the one thing you'll see, the very last slide is a quote slide. At the time of preparation and submitting, we did not have a quote, so I have a quote here. And I think you can hear me through your microphones as I walk around. But this quote does not include the training costs, which we anticipate to be around 50-ish thousand. I may have.
It does include a couple of intervention utilities that are optional.
Yes.
So if we need to work on the cost, we have some flexibility.
So it'll be, I think it's page 4 is the total. Yes, it is. Page 4 is the total cost of purchasing all the materials, the online licenses for those online portions of it. And again, that's what Jeff said would potentially be optional if we decided not to go that route.
And that's for 5 years.
Yes. What questions does the board have about the process, about the quote, about any of those things? Yes.
I, and probably the other board members, received a letter from Chandra Hart.
Okay.
The 27th of March. And she, just reading it down here, it says that she wants Desmos for 6 to 12, but for K to 5, she was saying that we should use Eureka. Did you?
And she is a teacher at Whiting Elementary School, and I did not receive that email, but we had I'm glad that she is reaching out to you on that. It was part of the process that we went through. Eureka was one of the curriculums that we did review. And so, yeah, I appreciate that she's expressing that concern.
Okay. I'm just wondering if anybody else read that letter?
Yes, I saw that it was.
Anybody thought about it?
I just knew, and I appreciate you sharing the full process, because I think we're always going to have differing opinions, but when you're working together as a group, you come to a consensus, and that is okay. It's just part of the process.
Yeah.
Even though it's good to be passionate about education and how, yeah, it's part of the collaborative effort.
And I was asking teachers as they were coming out how they felt, and some were really happy, and some were like, "Oh, I really liked this one or this other one." And so, yeah, it was definitely, like Paul said, we had 3 really great curricula that we looked at, 3 really good presentations, and so it's hard to make that decision. But we feel like we got a good one. One thing I will say, I think there were kind of questions about process and technique in teaching math. One program was really traditional, kind of your traditional way of teaching math. One program was very much hands-on, project-based discovery learning, that kind of thing. And Amplified Desmos seems to be kind of in the middle of those two, which I think is a good bridge between philosophies. So I think that was probably one of the reasons that it came out on top, is it's a bridge between the 2 different ways of looking at math. So I think it's a good fit for the district.
My question would be, is there some flexibility with that, where if there was a teacher that preferred to do more hands-on, there's enough of that in Desmos that they still could?
Absolutely, and there was other concerns brought up about the direct instruction. There's a lot of direct instruction opportunities provided for teachers as well within Desmos. So yes, the teachers can take that and implement it. There's also concern about online portions. All of this can be delivered online or through print-based materials, which we have all of that. And that's what would be part of this purchase.
That is part of the, okay.
That was my question. Is there a student workbook?
Yes, a physical student workbook and physical teacher manuals.
And is that part of this? Or
This is part of this.
For 5 years, that student workbook is provided?
Yes, that is all this cost. That's the, that one is right in here. We have that.
It's on here.
It's on here, we'll take a look.
Yeah, we'll get the count.
Yeah, our next question is, what was up with that printer?
Well, I apologize. It came out as color and I was doing it quickly and I didn't darken it,
It's
so I
okay.
apologize.
I'm just teasing you.
I have these digitally if you want to look at them.
There probably was not enough time to,
Yeah.
when you pilot the 3 programs, to have any kind of data comparison, probably, right?
We looked, I didn't see anything that I would say was compelling between the 3 of them. Just, we didn't have it, we had it in quite a few classrooms, but it's hard to look at it.
You will see that there's some good math growth this year in my presentation later on for the elementary schools, from beginning to middle of year for Acadians math. So you'll see that there's good growth there. So just teachers taking a look at their practice and really working to implement best practices for math. So I think there can be something said about looking at all 3 of these curriculums and our other curriculum, our old curriculum that we were using.
I will say the only place I saw data that I was like, wow, that might be interesting was Bluff K through 2. They used Desmos math and their K through 2 scores look really, really good. I don't know if that's a result of the curriculum or if it's probably more of a result of wonderful teachers in that area, but that was the one place I did see a little bit of a compelling.
So I did hear you say, you know, that the teachers would, there's some resources that may allow them to be a little bit flexible in their approach to instruction, but is it true to say the assumption is that all elementary teachers will be using this program if it is adopted here tonight?
Of course.
Yeah. Next year they'll be using it?
Yeah, this would be the board-approved curriculum.
It's the curriculum that we would support with training and with resources.
Yes.
And with expectation to make sure that it's been implemented.
Did we say how long it's been since we've upgraded our?
It's been since before I got here 5 years ago.
Okay,
I
so
think it
that's
had
been a minute.
couple years
I think
before
we
that.
adopted my math 9 years ago.
Yes.
Okay. So this will be a big.
We're overdue.
And I will say that my math was adopted, but then Eureka Math started to come in a little bit here and there. That wasn't an official adoption, but it kind of came
Allowed
in.
it,
So.
yeah.
What I've noticed is as you get to the kind of the end of an adoption, you lose all that momentum, and then teachers want to start grabbing and supplementing. So we were long overdue getting this done.
Can I share an anecdotal experience that my sister, who is currently working at Bluff Elementary, and attended a conference for preschool teachers in Florida recently, and the other teachers that she was with were Native American. And they took part in a presentation with a math curriculum that involved using manipulatives and matching and geometry with manipulatives. And my sister made a comment, can I just let her do it and count it as mine? Because there was a natural sense of spatial awareness and artistic ability in the Native culture. And anything we can do to support that, she's all for it. And she is as white as I am. But yes, I can see value in this. So thank you for all the work that went into doing this.
I'll also share, Nan, we did have that same woman presenter come.
Yes, she told me.
To the district and present all the preschool teachers. And it was working on pattern blocks and
Yes.
how to help develop problem solving through using pattern blocks. It was pretty awesome. It was a great day.
Thank you for sharing that. And I did know that, but I think it's good for everyone to hear that those kinds of things are happening and that she was thrilled to be working with people here. And it was a very positive experience both ways.
I did have a comment / question. It does say here on your presentation that it was supported by all the principals, but is that support through the teachers? They're speaking for the teachers as well and saying that they all support it with the principals are going to support it with the blessings of the teachers. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I would say that it's hard to have the support of 100% of our teachers, right?
Yeah.
But knowing that we have our administrators on board, knowing that they were here and part of the process, knowing that they had a voice, and that they'll be able to lead out these efforts in their school. I think we're in a good place.
Okay.
And a lot of the questions that the principals brought to that meeting were questions from teachers. So,
Gotcha.
so we're hopefully addressing the concerns that come up from those who aren't quite on board yet.
Okay. And we're not going to always have 100% majority, so I mean, as nice as that would be, but I can see that at least some consensuses are made, or at least they're being heard as well, too. So that was my only question. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? It's a lot. And when you said 3 90-minute presentations, was that all in the same?
It was the same
Okay.
day. Yeah.
Wow.
With lots of snacks and drinks provided so that everybody was happy.
Well, let me just say thank you to everyone who participated in that process. I was somewhat involved in the language arts curriculum adoption a couple years ago. And this sounds like even more than that, obviously. Great to have 3 great options. Great to have passion in the schools that teachers want the best for their kids. So absolutely thank you for all that was done with this.
John had a question.
I just wanted to hear that, or to know that you guys feel confident that this is the curriculum that you feel confident will be the best curriculum for our school district?
Yeah, I think it's going to be very strong in helping reach most of our learners and working to provide the supports that maybe if they don't get it that first time, there's going to be supports to get it the second time that they're hearing it. I think it's going to be a very strong curriculum. One of the best comments that we had in favor of Desmos was from Bluff Elementary School, just talking about how very similar to how when we adopted CKLA, kids were talking about it at recess and playing and using terminology from CKLA. That same comment came from a first grade teacher at Bluff Elementary saying, my kids are talking about the slope of the slide and what's going on, and just they're using the language and the terminology that they're hearing in math in their everyday experiences, and it's been powerful for them.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good question, Don, thank you. And we'll excuse you now and figure out where we are on our agenda. And this is a big one, so we need time for the assistant superintendent, but that's both of you again, so I'm just looking for
Yeah, I mean, I guess, we got these to the board as soon as we could, so you'd have time to take a look at them. They are the standard school and trust plan that comes from the website. So what we have given you is what has also been entered on the website.
And as long as you two are okay with doing your presentations a little after 4 instead of at 4,
Absolutely.
I think we're good to go ahead and move
Yeah.
forward with this agenda item. Okay.
Okay. Is there a particular order? How do you want to start? What would you like to do?
We can start with our overall process.
That is what,
Okay.
Yeah.
yes,
Perfect.
absolutely, thank you.
So we've spent several principal meetings and then also individual time working with our principals and developing these plans. We used rubrics provided by the state. They broke down the goals to be SMART, so we made sure that all of them fell within that range of being sustainable or specific, measurable, attainable,
Relevant.
relevant, yeah. So we had them color code that process as well. So again, that was helpful from the rubric. They did that working with peers as well during principals meetings so that other principals looked at their work and vice versa. So they had an opportunity to, one, just kind of give built-in time at principals meeting to work on that, and because we know if they try to do that within their offices or at their school, they're probably going to get distracted from that multiple times. So we allowed for that. Paul and I worked together to just ensure that our schools were meeting those, that they had identified content areas, but also percentages, and then just going through the process of making sure they met with their SECs, their school community councils, and taking this back to them and their teachers as well, and kind of building off what they've had last year and in past years and building on that as well too. So there's some similarity, but I think we've been really trying to target that they're addressing some of the concerns that have come up in the past, or some things that maybe were ambiguous, to kind of specify and clarify that as well. Anything to add?
Yeah, I think if you'll look in the executive content portion, you can see a rubric. Both Dr. Begay and I have responded to that rubric, and we ensured that our schools met those requirements. And then there's also a board rubric that you could go through and look at as well. So we feel confident that these plans are meeting the state standards, meeting the requirements for spending the money appropriately, and putting it to good use to meet the needs of our students in our schools.
And then just the last point of impact clarification too is within our last plans for last year into this year, we had none of our schools that overspent that 10% carryover, so we fell under that, and we got congratulations from the state for doing that, but also that's just been on our mind, and that goes through a help from Kayla Bradford as well, to kind of oversee those on a monthly and regular basis as well, and just kind of reaching out to schools when we're spending. So again, it's a team effort, but those are some of the other things that maybe aren't listed in the plan that go part of that process as well too.
Lots and lots of questions, but I'm going to try to keep it simple. I know we've done kind of creative processes using these school land trust plans in the past. Can you explain to me how some of those have changed a little with some of the restrictions that the state brought about, to kind of help us, but also help the community see how some things needed to change, but it's not a bad thing. It's going to be a good thing.
I think something behind the scenes, we had our budget meetings that we're planning for next school year right before these plans were due, and really working with principals, knowing that budgets are shrinking, state funding shrinking, how do we utilize these trust land funds to really meet the needs of our students? So you would see Monticello Elementary School hasn't funded a teacher in the past with this money, but this next year they are going to be funding a portion of a teacher just out of those needs and what's happening there. So we're really making sure that they are aligned with the requirements that the state has set forth, but also really what has the school community council decided that's allowable, and they've moved forward in those ways. Does that answer your question?
That is exactly what I was looking for. Go ahead, Derek. You
Yeah.
have an example as well, I think.
Yeah, there's, again, with each specific school, there's a specific need, and so like at some places, they may see that a para or two paras in that support of what they're trying to do for meeting the needs of reading or supporting students with disabilities or their overall school plan. They look to adjust and add different resources there. Whereas another school may need a counselor, and so that's where another school will look into how do they build that in, how can they meet that need for them to help support their students, and then they kind of break that up between grade levels. So again, it's really looking at the graduation rates and how do they support that. And again, with these different funds, that allows the school that kind of autonomy to look at what their needs are and then address that. And again, really get school community council feedback as well too on this. That's how they're using their money. So hopefully that they can answer that same question in that way too, so that it is identifying needs that they really have at the school sites. And then even some schools who have kind of similar plans throughout the year have made adjustments as well too, to where money was there before is not there anymore, and so they've kind of had to look at how can they reposition or reduce or de-implement something that they have coming out of that to give more emphasis somewhere else for that specific need that the school has. And so principals have been very good at kind of identifying what those are on a year-to-year basis, and usually with these budget meetings we have for staffing, that'll also make the adjustments where they don't really have a choice to. They have to kind of see what they can do within every other budget that they have, and so this allows some of that flexibility within this one to make that change or to move it somewhere to where it impacts maybe a surplus somewhere else. So those are some examples.
Thank you. I know in some instances there have been concerns with changes in plans, and I think it's good for people to see that there is a very thoughtful process, and also the fact that you're looking at budgets and not just coming up with random things to throw money at, That's not what it is at all. Oh, I lost my train of thought, but yeah, I just thought I'd go ahead and turn the time over to anyone else that had questions or concerns.
I did have a comment. I like the rubric that we were able to follow. It makes it definitely easier and more specific as to see what each school needs. I did like also seeing that the SEC, they signing off on those too. So, because I always wonder, do they think that we read these all the way through? Because admittedly, this being my fourth year, I wanted it seems like it's the same need every year and every time. So I almost like worry that cut, copy and paste. It's going to be the same need. So and I actually want to see that it's really the need of that school year every single time. And of course, that I wish I could fix or we could all fix what they all need and have that provided for them. But with the rubric for us to follow as the board and also as through the state, I definitely made it easier for me to read and definitely made it easier for me to see exactly what those goals were, where we can budget out and how we can use that. And then I also like that the student community council is also in on it as well. I mean, anything to make it more clear, because honestly, I feel like I am one of them too. So anything that can be made easier for me to follow as well as them, that was definitely nice. So just know we are reading all these things, even though it's a bit much. But
I know what you were saying too. I was kind of trying to figure that out too, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make myself crazy if I'm like compare this to compare that to yeah. But as you were talking, it reminded me we've had some concerns about getting parents involved in this school community council. Did you get active in participation in these for the most part?
I think that's one of the great things about these council signature forms is that they are verifying that they were active participants in making this plan and providing input and feedback on it too. That's we stuck with the same form across the district. You can see that.
Yes.
And so you'll see that yes, they did have a chance to give feedback and input and offer changes if needed, and then they signed off that they were involved and active members. So I think that's been really good, and we were able to verify that those signatures are actually our council members in there as well. So,
okay.
In addition to that, you'll notice on the forms, we've updated them to where they have to either mark yes or tell the principal yes that they were involved in the plan and they were involved in preparing next year's plan, whereas the prior forms were just a signature and a date and identifying what they were. So we like this form because it asked that 2 questions on there and it had that specific wording for them to acknowledge as well too.
I did see on some of the forms that there was a no, like some were answering no. I would ask if there's opposition, maybe they can put it in the board area, because I didn't see any remarks or questions for the board. So I just wanted to know if we could reiterate to them that, hey, you can ask that, or if you do have, if you're in, I can't even think, if you do oppose it, then, please, let's ask the question in a broader spectrum and maybe see if the board has an answer for that, or, something to that, because at this point, I'm just reading and I need a little more something to do.
Can I ask a clarification? Are you talking about voting for the plan, or are you talking about the signature form?
On the
putting
signature
no?
form, sorry.
Yeah, so it doesn't mean they don't support the plan. It just means we may have had a school community council member who was not there to make the final vote on the plan, so they have to put no if they weren't there to vote on the plan.
That makes sense.
So that's why. And all of the members who are part of the school community council as entered on the school community council website also have to be on the signature form. So they have to match exactly. That's one of the things that is on that checklist that we created for you, is because the state will check that as well. So that's why you might see, I know one had a yes and a no, so I think maybe they marked the wrong thing, but that's all they're saying, is that they did participate in that plan, or they did participate for the year. Not that they were opposed, because you can see that right on the website, how many were opposed, how many abstained, whatever. That's part of the vote.
And sometimes
So that's
we're
recorded
able
differently.
attend some of these meetings, but.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as a board member, but.
Add a little to that. I've had kind of a unique experience as I've been on, in my 5 years in the district, I've been on 2 community councils as a parent. I was on ARLs for 2 years and I'm on BESs right now. And I've been very, very impressed by how active the parents are on those councils. They come with good concerns. They really want to understand kind of the nuances of the plan and things like that. So I've been very impressed with the parents that are on those councils, at least the 2 that I've been on. So just as you were asking that, I guess I bring a little bit of firsthand knowledge to that. So hopefully that helps answer your question.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Any other questions or comments? I didn't mean to hijack all of that.
No, but if they did, please.
Yeah.
Put the questions in there and we're more than welcome to. Hopefully we have an answer.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll turn the time over to one of you and then the next one of you.
That was great. Thank you, Dr. Begay.
You're first on the agenda.
Yeah, that's perfect. Attached my.
We can always switch it up if you like.
No, it's real. It is just fine. It's crazy that it's already 4 o'clock, so that is good.
Keep Dr. Begay on his toes.
I know, right? So I'm very happy to be presenting today, and I want to express my gratitude to the school board for the support that you have for the San Juan School District. It is awesome to see your focus on student achievement and your kind of, I guess, laser-like focus on that, and it holds us all accountable for what we're really here for, and that's all about student achievement and student success and outcomes. Oh, thanks, Mason. So I want to share with you, Dr. Fitzgerald earlier in the school year shared enrollment, and I want to be very clear that these are enrollment data that came from Aspire at the end of the school year. So the end of school year 2024, end of school year 2025, and then this was probably the Thursday or Friday before spring break is the current. So just wanted you to see some of those trends, looking at the schools, the elementary schools in particular, looking at kind of a decrease from 24 to the 25 end of school year, and then we're currently maintaining right there. And then just looking at our grade level enrollments, you can kind of see there's some fluctuation, but definitely higher in the upper grades and lower in the lower grades. Just kind of an interesting trend to look at and watch for. And again, that was all from Aspire. So this may look a little different than some of the UTREX data that was shared, but I wanted to make that pretty clear. These are the goals that we came up with as an elementary team as part of our early learning plan. And so number 1 was something that we all felt passionate about. Jeff was there as well as the principals last summer as we worked to make these goals, but really working to decrease the gap, the achievement gap between our Native American students and our non-Native American students, to decrease that by 10%. So we can see that by the end of first grade, and Jeff has spoke about this in prior presentations, but by the end of first grade, we're seeing about a 10% gap, and then second grade, a 20% gap, and then third grade, a 30% gap. So we're really wanting to reduce that gap, raise the achievement of our Native American students, and really just work on that. So that's a goal that we're working on. And that was a goal that we didn't have to submit to the state. That's one that we're working on as a district. And then for the goals that we had to submit to the state, second grade, we're working to increase our math composite from beginning of year to end of year by 28%. And so you'll see some of that data coming up. And then in third grade, our math composite from beginning of year to middle of year by 26%. Now, literacy is not being dropped off the board here. This last year, USBE made us focus on math as part of our achievement. So that's where those goals came from. But we're still focused on literacy. We still want to see those things. Here is our Acadians reading progress thus far, and this is district-wide. So you'll see that at the beginning of the year, we had much less achievement, 59% through our middle of year testing are showing, as opposed to 50% being on grade level or above. And so we're really excited for that. I think there's been some good growth there. And then in our math, you can see that there's just this, it's kind of this boom of what's going on, and seeing that great instruction that's happening, students really learning as they're going. So we're really excited about the trajectory that we have for math so far. So that one's really a great celebration. I also wanted to share our current school improvement designations. You are probably familiar with the top three. So Blanding Elementary is in CSI, so Comprehensive Support and Improvement for American Indian and English Learner, and that's how the state phrases that. And so they were designated in this school year, or year 24, and the first year of exit is 2027, so we're working towards that goal. And they do receive a little bit of funding from the state. As long as they have that available, they'll provide some funding for that. So this year they've worked with a consultant to really work on engagement strategies and helping build their practice there. Monticello Elementary is an ATSI for students with disabilities. They were designated in 22. The first year to exit was 25. They did not exit, but they still have time to exit. Montezuma Creek was designated in 25, and I should say that this comes from the testing in the spring of that year. So even though we just got notified of those designations not too many months ago, they were entered for students with disabilities, and their first possible date of exit is 2028. And then Sabinniskai Elementary School was designated as CSI for low performance across the school, and that was again this year with the possible exit of 2028. And they do receive quite a good amount of funds from the state. We're working on figuring out exactly what that is and what that will look like and how that could be used, but really working to support them. And we've got some good thoughts in place. Those teachers are amazing, the students are amazing, the community's amazing. I think good things are gonna happen as we really focus on that. So this is my favorite part, really celebrating. I've really loved being in this position because I've been able to be with students more. I think that's been an awesome thing to be in seeing what's happening in the schools, being in classrooms, seeing the great teaching and great learning that's happening. That has been a really highlight of this year so far. So I've kind of looped 1 and 2 in there. And then working with great administrators. We have a great team of leaders who lead our schools and work tirelessly to just be there for their teachers and their students, their communities, their parents, and just work to deal with the day-to-day operation of a school. And then, as always, I will probably never get tired of celebrating this, just being part of a team at the district level, at the school level. Just, we really work hard as a team to make decisions, to work on improvement, and I feel like there's no way any one of us could do these jobs, and so working as part of a team is really important. Some challenges, I would love to be in schools more often. It is tough. There are many things to do. We're working on building systems that can help make that happen, and I'm excited for that, so that is a tough work. And then as with any new job, with any change, there is a steep learning curve, and I felt very supported. I have great mentorship with Superintendent Fitzgerald and Dr. Begay. They've been really great to help with that, and I think they've been very patient as I've worked to learn through some things, and so those are the challenges, but all in all, the benefits outweigh the challenges, and it's great to be part of Team San Juan. So any questions that you guys have for me?
I would like you to kind of describe to us an example of a system and a process of creating systems that you've been actively involved in so that we can see how that's working. I know that Superintendent, Dr. Fitzgerald has been kind of leading the way in that. Sorry to put you on the spot. I really was going to give you a heads up, but
yeah, I think one system that I've kind of been happy to put in writing is really working on our preschool programs. And really, what does that look like? The reason why we run a preschool program is to meet the needs of students with disabilities that are ages 3 to 5 years old, right? But the best way to meet students' needs or students with disabilities needs is to give them opportunities with peers that aren't disabled, that they have opportunities to interact and they have opportunities to play and do things and really not be othered, right? And so really setting up that system for what do our preschools look like? How do we run and operate them with the understanding that from Monticello and LaSalle down to Navajo or Monument Valley, not Navajo Mountain, we don't have a preschool there, but Monument Valley, that they can look a little bit different, but we are still running the same curriculum. We're learning together. We have PLCs monthly, just really working to build that system and kind of cement that in writing. That's something that I've been very proud of, and that Superintendent Fitzgerald helped greatly with to make sure that we were on track and doing what we needed to do. So it is in writing, and then we have kind of a foundation to know where to go from. So
Thank you. I'm sorry I put you on the spot,
No,
but
that's
I do
great.
like to see concrete things of when you say systems, tell me what
Yes.
that looks like. So I will turn the time over to the rest of the board to ask any questions or make comments.
Well, I'll just piggyback off of her because that was kind of my question. And it was with the new support systems that we're trying to implement and get going. And with you being in the trenches, is there anything that you see that we've kind of missed or that we can improve upon, or that there does need to be a system that will?
I think the thing with systems, at least from my viewpoint, is that when a system's in place, then things can start to happen automatically, right? Or we know what to do, what steps to take to follow and do that. And so just one system that I think we're working to build on and improve on is working with our registrars to make sure that we're keeping all the same documentation in the same way, so that if a student transfers from school to school, really making sure that we've got consistent documentation of that. And that was brought to my attention from a couple principals that are like, it's being done this way here, it's being done this way here. So really, how do we cement that? And some of that is just over time, we just fall out of practice, and how do we work to cement that? And so I'm not saying that it's a miss, I'm just saying there will always be time that we can improve and build on, and that's one that came to mind that's like, oh yeah, we need to make sure that we're keeping consistent records in the same way across the district. And we even learned a little bit about that today, so it's a good thing.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah.
And we appreciate all that you do
Oh,
for the
thank
school
you.
district and for our kids.
Thank you. I love it.
Think of this as your review. No.
Yeah, there you go. Great. Sounds good.
No. I think that was all the questions I had. I
Yeah.
don't have any.
Okay,
Awesome, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Begay, you're in the hot seat.
Got a list of questions here. No, I'm kidding.
I'm used to it, so. Okay. Well, again, thanks for, again, allowing me to be able to come speak and share some of the things that are going on in the secondary world. I think, again, I think the benefit of being consistently in this position has helped me to understand a great deal, but also make partnerships and collaboration with basically the team of at the district level and even at the school level. So I think you'll see that highlighted here today. Again, as a preference and disclaimer, this data has been from February 2026. So again, the data that's showed and reported elsewhere may not reflect the same. I like to kind of keep current numbers. So as you look at these numbers, those are from February 2026, just to let you know. And that's just a breakdown from all of the secondary schools. So there's about 1,400 students within our secondary schools, ARL, and the 5 high schools. So, and then as you can see, there's 54% of them are Native American, and then 36% are white, and then different categories making up the remaining percent. So I just like to share that. It just kind of gives a scope of the different students that we serve and help and look to accommodate in various ways. With some of the data, I took specifically from their report cards that are listed on the USBE website. So I think just pointing out, and some of the highlights here that are part of the celebrations are just, when we look at growth, all of our schools basically are in the area of commendable for growth into the secondary area. And again, that just shows, you know, there you'll see some average, some lows, but when you look at who those students are, that's really the painting of the picture of who's being serviced at our schools. And I think that's the highlight that I like to show in these different reports. So in the top three, again, you're looking at the growth of the lowest 25%. Those are the students with the most needs and have to make up the most from transitioning to high school or 7th grade. Those students who are at the lower performing are getting the supports and different identifiers that they need within school, within our teachers and administrators at those schools. So again, I just wanted to show that from the report cards that, our growth within these schools is commendable. I think there's oftentimes where we look at just proficiency, and that can be a way to, not see what's actually going on in the schools, but seeing what growth is happening. And, I think we'll get there eventually, but we're just kind of in this reoccurring loop of helping those students who need the most help. And then on the bottom, those are the same schools. So you'll see that school did perform on ACT better than the school as the state, but also the LEA. So they had tremendous remarks, 63% for those scoring 18 or higher. And then their graduation rate kind of reflects that as well. They're at 95.6%. And then the readiness coursework just talks about post-secondary readiness. So, and then our graduation rates, again, within these schools, these 4 schools that are kind of identified within this charting, 3 of those have had a 92.3% or higher graduation rate over the last school year. So again, I think those are great marks. I think one of our schools, again, kind of knows that as where the need is, and I think that's reflected in some of the plans that we were talking about earlier. So they're not too far off of that 90%, but again, I think that's kind of our goal as where we want to be as a district. So again, this is just some of the initial growth that we have. And talking about systems and getting to those different points, so hopefully I beat you to the question. These are various systems that we work with within secondary. And again, it's a team. We're looking at pathways to graduation. That involves, looking with CTE, career technical education, but also knowing what's available through concurrent enrollment, dual enrollment, and those different options that students have for schooling. We look at, creating a system as what that is. Again, there's changes within the graduation requirements coming up for the next school years. There's some things that were taken away and some things that were added. So just having all of our different teams aware of that, our principals and administration, our career technical education, but also our counselors at the school site. We work together to kind of address those and identify what those are. We have a concurrent enrollment system that we're still in process of developing. It'll probably never get completely finished just because of the constant movement and the outside entities that we deal with and those stakeholders being USU and the state as well. But again, coming to some kind of consensus at what goes on at our schools, what classes do we have, what opportunities do we have, what space do we have, and again, that's a district-led event. We have our system administrator part of that. We have IT part of that role. We have HR for credentials for those who are in concurrent enrollment. So it really takes a team of the district to help support some of these initiatives. And so just kind of getting the right people in the right room and sometimes the wrong people to help give us an outside perspective have been beneficial in that work. So we started counselor work sessions. Again, we've met quarterly. We're kind of going to add another session so that we're looking at those graduation changes and requirements, but also looking at how we relay that information and are consistent across the entire district as well, so that everyone kind of is on the same page of what's allowable and not allowable. The assistant principal work sessions, again, those are more focused towards like our behavior matrix and dealing with behaviors at the school sites, but giving them opportunity. They also are their test coordination preparers as well, so blocking out time for them to have that at their school sites to be successful, and they're experts within the assistant principal role, where I kind of just step back on the test prep because they probably know more than I do anyway, and they kind of took the lead and made sure accommodations were in place for our different testing that's coming up that passed in March, but also coming up in April. So those are some of the systems. We have an MTSS team that deals with our Panorama program, which is like a part of our MTSS, which is the multi-tiered system of support. Again, building and creating those. Again, we brought in social workers, counselors, administrators, and various, other supports that go to the schools and different school sites on a daily basis throughout the week. We've incorporated them to bring their knowledge to make sure that we have a team and a system that is meeting the needs of all of these students. And then in addition to that, we have various content meeting teams led by Mr. Jeff Wingate as well. We also look at our curricular and extracurricular programs. We have our Q-tip program that's still, going strong and is often one of the highlights when we talk with various members from USBE, and then also reporting out to our NAVO chapter houses, our different agencies that we deal with, and then kind of highlighting what they're doing. And then just the mentoring supports for all of our staff within that role as well too. Some of the challenges, again, with constant changes in legislation, it's hard to, hit that moving bullseye, and while we're still trying to establish what systems we have in place. So that's kind of an ongoing impact that we have to adjust to every year. So those are always fun to hear and see what we need to do and scramble to meet deadlines with not being properly funded. So those are nice. I think as we talked about the school designations, those schools with, most of our schools are in TSI Plus with students with disabilities. So, really looking at that, we talked about the growth we're having with that lowest 25%, but there's still more to do and more students to meet, and some of that is individualized. So looking at how we can support the schools and the students in that sense. And then in addition to that, just making sure that there's equitability between all of the schools and equality. And part of that is resource allocation. So we're looking at that, and that's not just money or budgets, but people as well. So do they have the right paras? Do they have the right teachers? Do they have the right supports from the district? And as a district team, we've been able to go to schools and see, and they get a chance for their teachers and admin to ask us, well, we need this. And, we have a lot of our district members there where they're getting answers immediately, or looking at, creating a follow-up meeting to address those needs. So that support system has been very good. So again, it's a challenge, but it's also support. And I think part of a celebration as we're having more of these meetings at the schools, taking our entire district team of like 8 different people, and we're there to kind of hear the needs and see where we can be a resource for schools, and not waiting, I haven't heard from district, or I haven't got a response back. We're taking ourselves down there to hear those needs and to address them right away. And I put this in as far as a challenge. You can see from LaSalle to Navajo Mountain, it's 236 miles or a 4-hour drive. So I'm usually on the road a lot, and I'm sure all of our district team is as well. So I just thought I'd throw that in. And then I think our celebrations, again, I talked about some of our teams in place, and part of that is the school level collaboration that we have. Again, I think with these 90-day plans, with these different opportunities for budget, we're really making these more transparent at the school level to see, this is kind of what we have to spend money on. These are allowable costs, these are not allowable. And they're not difficult conversations, but they do come up to where we have to, where our administrators have that knowledge, just kind of break that down to their school levels. But I think we're getting more transparent, so I think that's a celebration. And then we're also doing that at the district level with a lot of the different programs that I talked about. There's different funding sources that help support those. And I think we're getting used to know that, so we can kind of braid what we need to make our adjustments to help schools. So that's been very a unique experience in all the different funding, but it helps us to meet the needs of all of our schools. We had one school exit, complete exit of the TSI, so the Targeted School Improvement Designation, and that was Whitehorse High School, so they are not in for anything, and we have several schools that are in that designation as well where they have no designation. So, that's just to highlight that came recently, and they were one of the schools that exited students with disabilities, not only for our district, but throughout the entire state. I think they were only one of a handful. So again, looking at what processes and systems they have in place is something that we can replicate to other schools. So there's great things happening from our schools and the work that they're doing. And then again, I think the Q-tip program, as well as the transition for not only teacher to like a lead teacher, but I just want to highlight our lead teacher who's gone to administrator at Monument Valley High School. I was looking at some of the feedback and just the conversations I've had with some of the teachers and seeing that, there are changes there, but coming from that administrator, it's to support the needs of that students and that community that she's a part of as well. So I think, with that transition and that program, making that an opportunity or that possible, there's just been great work that's going on there. And again, there's still work to do, but again, I think with the Q-tip allowing for that opportunity, I think we're going to see more. And with the grants we also have, we're going to hopefully see more of that in these lead teachers. And then not only that, but paras going to teachers as well, and teachers going to admin. So that's an exciting thing to have a futurist outlook for what's going to happen. So, and then lastly, again, just giving praise to the principals that I get to work with on a daily basis. I think those are one of the things that, we have conversations, we have specific things to conquer or that are challenges every day that are unique. And so I think working with the principals that I get to, they have a system where, they know who to contact with. If they have a specific question, they have leaders within their team that they go to, and they just kind of loop me in when they need to. If they can't answer that question, I usually have a couple coming to me, and again, we kind of work problems out together. I always tell them, like, I can't see what you see on some of these website things, so you have to kind of walk me through what you're seeing. But going through those process, I think it helps all of us see, we're trying to problem solve together, and most of the time, I think we're coming up with answers rather quickly and saving those in the back of our mind for when other principals have a situation that's similar, we share that out. So I think those are some of the things that I like to celebrate that I get to deal with, and the different personalities at the different schools and the different makeup of those schools as well too has been very rewarding. And again, just having the time to be in the classroom to help make decisions or to just be in the classroom to see teaching going on and learning happening has been a part of that as well too. So those are some of the highlights that I have that have kind of transpired over the last, not only school year, but last couple of years as well being in the position. So, any questions?
I'm going to let somebody else lead out with a question. I have one, but I'm going to turn it over. Anybody else?
I always have a question, so I'll let somebody else.
Go ahead.
You already answered this. My question was, how can we change the relationship between the school community to ensure that students know that they have both the support? And you said the resource allocation, along with the community being involved. So I think that's always going to be a continued issue, especially because, we have everything that's, again, it's parents coming in and having to work, and students knowing that as well. So just anything new, again, like we asked Mr. Murdoch earlier, is there anything that we're missing? Is there something that we can improve upon? I'm sure there's always more that we can do.
Yeah, and I think we had a lot of new initiatives happening this school year, but I think one of the things that was a highlight that I know that we want to get back to is just kind of probably we were working on a lot of different systems is having that student advisory council throughout the district. They were ones to roll out, this is the cell phone policy, and there was students making those presentations in an assembly. So I think when we get all these other systems back in place, we can devise that student advisory council that we have throughout the district, and that's voices from all of our high schools, Navajo Mountain, Monument Valley, Whitehorse, Blanding, and Monticello, to have voice in what they want to do, and if there's a challenging thing they want to take on, we give them some flexibility to take those on, but also the messaging that they have when we get things that are mandated that go out to the schools, they're willing to take those on as well too. So I think it works both ways, but it's coming from their own student body back to the schools. That's been one of the, again, it's a celebration that we've had. We didn't have an opportunity to really kind of expand on that this year, but I think next year that's going to be one of our focal points to incorporate that student voice again.
Well, and that would make sense because we want to support student leadership, and like Brenda brought in earlier with hers, I mean, that was something that could go hand in hand with that. And then I know here with the board, that was also another thing that we wanted to initiate, is having a student board member as well, and that would be a leadership. So definitely something we can expand upon and definitely encourage too within all the, because, you know, they're seeing something that I don't see, or seeing something that you don't see, or as well as even the teachers that are being missed and sometimes not being heard or being seen. This would give them that chance to voice those. So I think that would definitely be a plus, and another system that we can implement and make those changes with.
And I think the capacity of our students that we've seen through CTSOs or these various CTE competitions, even at the mid-school level with ARL and the amount of students that are going into those roles too, I think it just highlights that, you know, we have a lot of students that are willing to take that step and to take that on, and it's exciting. And then being co-hosting the Sterling Scholars, you know, we saw a lot of that through our Sterling Scholars as well too. And so I think there's highlight for a lot of our students to take on those roles and be successful in those roles.
I agree.
I just wanted to thank you for highlighting the aspect of transparency that we're trying to, that's an important theme of ours as a board. It's important to us to see the district leadership, to show people how we work. And I think you did a great job of that. And I'm just going to put you on the spot and ask, what strengths and skills do you bring to the table to make these things work?
I think one is, you know, collaboration or communication. I think that without that, we're all working in different silos. So I think for me, I'm able to, if I don't know a question, I'm first to say I don't know, or let me get back to you, or let me ask someone who does know or has experienced that. And so I think just being honest in that is also a strength. So I know I'm not giving false or misleading information just to have an answer. I can take a step back and say, I don't know, let me research that and I'll get back to you. So I think those kind of work hand in hand, where it does, you know, we're trying to problem solve a lot of the time, and that does deal with communication, but also it needs to be honest. If no one has the answer, I want to be sure that I'm expressing that to a principal who's trying to problem solve a problem, and I say, give me a few hours or a day at least to get back to you. And it's like, oh, well, let's call this person and they might know. And I put other principals on the spot to maybe have an answer for that. But I think that's part of the uniqueness. And as I indicated in my celebration, that we have a team where we're open enough to be vulnerable and know that, you know, we don't have answers for everything, and some things come uniquely to us that we have to ask others for help. And I think that's one of the things that I show in my leadership, hopefully to them, that they know that you don't have to have every answer or know everything right then and there, and just to be truthful in that, and so that when we do come up with the right answer, we're able to communicate that. So
Thank you, Dr. Begay. Anyone else?
So on your driving map, we don't see Montezuma Creek, so.
That's actually more miles.
I should have had it.
You have to take a little detour.
5 hours.
That would have probably been, another hour.
Yeah, another hour.
I'll add it in and then make a loop so it shows.
And we appreciate your commitment.
Yeah,
thank you.
And hard work.
I did want to comment. I can see Paul behind you, like a proud parent. So that also helps, you know. You can see the camaraderie between the two of you, and with being in leadership position, I am sure you guys piggyback off of each other's ideas as well as problem solving. And that's no different from how we do it here too. And when we ask questions, you can tell we all look at each other's like, you know what question to ask, or you know what comment to bring forth. So that's definitely commendable, and I can see that as a support to what we're all trying to accomplish as well. So kudos to you guys. And
thank you.
I'm sorry, I just had to reiterate that.
I will say, you know, the fact that we're able to meet on a weekly basis with the superintendency, myself, Dr. Fitzgerald, and Mr. Murdoch, we're able to kind of know what kind of is going on at each of our school sites and throughout the district. And not only that, we have thought partners within the district leadership team as well too. Again, it's just a variancing of opinions, but I think that's what builds our strength as a district team.
I agree. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll let you go.
All right.
Yes. Are we that hard on you guys? Come on.
All right.
We aren't really letting you go.
Yeah, I lied. You're actually coming right back up because it's you and Christy. You and Dr. Fitzgerald.
Darn.
Got a break, I think I'm okay. All right, is it spin plans? Okay, so this is, we hopefully cleaned all these up to where they're viewable in a one-page way. So I know this is the second time we're bringing this. I'm not sure if there's any questions or follow-up, but I will say that within the time we had to make edits and changes, I did go through, and superintendent did as well, for, I don't want to say the number of hours, but probably a few, in making sure that these were streamlined across the board as far as the number of spirit packs and making sure those costs are detailed. And then also the biggest comment was the camps. So the camps that we could identify, we made sure that there were at least a date, a location, and a cost to it, and a breakdown. Some of the feedback we did get is like we don't know that because the flyers for some of those camps come out later. So we just told them to put an estimated cost at that. So hopefully all that information has been updated, and we kind of, I think, looking at how we use the school land trust plan, I think with a checklist for this would also be something that we would need to put in place to just kind of streamline that process. But again, we're going through, 20 to 30 per school, and there's 6 schools that have spin plans. So again, that just kind of talks about the number. But here to answer any questions. I think we've gone through most of those. I didn't know if you had any.
Yeah, so just a few points of clarity, just so you're aware of kind of how they work. So we are reviewing the policies. It doesn't need, we need to make any changes at this time, but that's part of this required processes in open meeting to do that. And just a reminder that the board did approve the fee schedule for next year. So just a little clarity with that. If you have a fee schedule, say for art class, the fee is already in the fee schedule. There does not need to be a spend plan for an art class unless there's additional expenses beyond that sustainability fee. So you'll see we've also renamed some of these with our new club policy that we passed in the fall with the board. You'll also see that anything that is considered a curricular club under that definition of that policy that has a cost has a spend plan. Just because you approve a spend plan for one of those clubs does not mean that club will be approved. So that process for clubs occurs in August. So that will be a different process. And there may be clubs who submit in August that could have a spend plan that we bring to you in September if they're approved. So it has made the system a little bit more convoluted, but I wanted to clarify that. Also, if it is not an academic related, so a curricular club, then there could not be a spend plan for it. So if it's a student initiated and does not apply to anything curricular that we're doing at the school, there cannot be a spend plan that the board approves. So that's a little bit different than maybe how things might have looked in the past. So we really went through and tried to update any of those that were clubs and what they're tying to with their club and academic area, because the teacher is leading out on that club. Right. So a student that's leading out on a club will look different and will not have a spend plan. They'll have to have another source if they're going to be spending any money. So just a little clarity on that. Other than that, I mean, there are a lot here, and we did go through a checklist on every single one of them. So we're hoping that we have caught everything from having the correct dates to having, the fees that are approved. Again, a reminder that anything that has to do with travel is only billed when it occurs. So if there is a meal or a hotel, only if that event occurs will that be billed. And a program cannot bill beyond the spend plan. So these spend plans are really important for our public and our parents to understand that no more than what is on here in the areas indicated can be charged for a student to participate in these programs as well.
I think it's also important to note that it doesn't have to, just because a number's on there, that doesn't mean necessarily that they will spend up to that amount. But like Superintendent Fitzgerald said, they just can't go over that amount.
And just to make a real life example of that, like if there's an opportunity for a shirt or a hoodie, those are not required, those are optional. Or if a student has knee pads that they've worn in the past that are okay for the next year, they won't have to add into that cost and buy another one. Those are strictly just on there if they need it. So.
And you can see we did update that on the or. A few of the teams, like wrestling's a good example where they'll have a t-shirt and a hoodie because they are, how the tournaments run. I think we've talked about this with the board in the past. But for most of our other plans, it does list the t-shirt or a hoodie. And then the hoodie cost, that we have across the board is $55. So if they buy the t-shirt, they're not spending $55 on the t-shirt, but they do have that option to get a hoodie at the $55. And that allows for some flexibility for the coach and the team to decide for that year what they would like to do. We do have a few that, they've chosen to have a polo for that particular event. So those might look a little bit different, but for the most part, you'll see t-shirt or hoodie and with the max of $55 that could be spent on that. And again, if the hoodie costs less than $55, we will not be spending the $55. So it's the max cost.
And also, if there's a typo on here and we approve it, it's not the end of the world. I mean, yeah.
I did try to go and catch as many as I could.
know, you did a
I
lot.
can't really spell check in Excel.
But what I'm
so-
saying is if we approve it, it's not going to derail the whole thing. just
If
'cause
it's a
there was
typo with numbers,
Then it's a problem.
Then it needs to be fixed, but the overall can still be approved.
But we hope that you
And then
don't find any
individually,
typos.
any of these could be fixed after we approve them.
I think I questioned you last time, so I really didn't have anything today. I just definitely appreciate that it's clear, and if a parent were to come in and, look at these over, then they'll be able to understand that a lot better. Thank you for clarifying the t-shirt versus the hoodie. I know that was an issue too, so that makes it easier. But yeah, I that was my only note, was definitely clear and more understandable. So thank you for that.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on the Spirit bus, I want to make sure I'm reading that correctly. Is it if they're in the top 2 in the RPI in those sports, and if they're in wrestling, if they win the divisionals, we approve a bus? Is that correct, what I'm reading there?
Yeah, because what was happening is there really wasn't a way for a bus to go by how late we were having to put all of that together. So they asked for it to be done this way. This was the request from secondary principals so that they could get everything prepped, say we're going to most likely have a bus, it's going to work out. If they're playing in a tournament series and they lose, the bus won't go. But this just allows them to say it is potential for them to attend a championship, because really it was really limiting what they could really, like football is a good example of a Spirit bus that works, right? Because they know they're going, but the other sports, I say it's really not working out for us to send a bus.
What I'm wondering is does this allow, let's say, if they aren't in the top 2 in the RPI and they make the state championship game?
Oh, so you're saying,
Is there another option, or?
I mean,
So
let's
we
say
need to
they
do an
they're the
and.
Cinderella story that comes out of nowhere in
yeah,
football.
so you'd need an and.
And an and is what I'm saying is
I
yes.
think you could
is-
even just change the language. A Spirit bus will be approved in advance if they are ranked in the top 2 RPI.
If arrangements can be, if reasonable arrangements can be made.
Yes.
Right,
Because
but
maybe
then,
they
yeah,
can't, but
then it
maybe they
leaves
can.
flexibility.
But
So
they weren't in
leading
the
to
top
how
2
it
in the
was
RPI.
before, that it could be and that or and this.
Right.
And then I realize and I remember and I think that as I look at these, I think it's wise, we talk about this being the maximum, and we talk about it being a little bit of tricky. I know very firsthand, this is really tricky to get all this right down to the amount, and so there's usually a little bit of maybe just a little bit of room built into these, and I think that's wise. But then I do wonder a little, and I don't want to pick on Whitehorse, but like their boys and girls basketball and wrestling are kind of significantly higher. They're $400 to $500 higher than the other schools. So I don't know if there's a reason for that, or if that kind of cushion needs to be built in. But anyway, I did pick that out and notice and wonder if there's a reason. It does mention on their plans that they want to make sure there's enough meal, which is in most cases it's in the mills. But I'm assuming the others are building that in as well. But anyway.
Yeah, I think the one, at least to the wrestling, I probably have to go back and look at the basketball, but the wrestling for Whitehorse, I know that with wrestling and girls being included, the number of meets and where they're hosting those, Whitehorse is probably having to travel a little bit further. And I think weigh-ins are at 7 a.m. So there's conversation if they have to leave the day before. So there's an added hotel and then a meal cost on top of that. So there are some of those logistical things that I at least know in conversation with the principal. That's why that there was a higher cost. We did look at, the gap between the 4 schools, and they were considerably higher. That was one of the things that was relayed back to me as far as that cost. But I think that's also because of the uniqueness of where wrestling is now and the meets that are there and who's hosting both boys and girls and the ones that they compete with. So I think those are some of the unique situations that are happening.
Yeah, so like the basketball for Whitehorse is travel, like Wendover, Escalante, Altamont. I mean, some of those, it's just requiring them more on the travel end of who they're
And
playing.
that wouldn't be similar to Monument Valley?
Yeah, that was my next question. Did Monument Valley underestimate?
Let me just pull it up, because we called and talked about this as well.
And I guess that would go to my question too with the wrestling, because are the boys and girls going to the same meets or are they going to separate meets? That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, and we've been fortunate enough because we've had both a 2A and 1A rep. And so when we were looking at these, we also got additional input from both of them as well, of like, what would this maybe look like? We talked to Casey Olson particularly because that was our concern.
Right.
With girls wrestling versus boys wrestling, like, do they need to be the same cost? Might they be different? What would that look like? So, he talked us through all of that as well. But let me just pull up, because I know that we looked at girls basketball, and they do not go to all the same teams, and some teams may be home versus away. But I will take a peek at it really quick while you're keep asking questions while I pull that one up.
Okay, any other discussion items? Yeah, it's a lot, but it
There's
is
one
something we need to be informed on.
also I'm noticing is the camps and clinics is significantly different on Whitehorse and Monument Valley.
And I know, is Whitehorse just improving upon their basketball program? Because they've had a lot of opportunities this year, going regional and even state and all that. Is that something that they're factoring in as well?
I think you bring a good point for not only the wrestling team may be a little more developed as well too, because their camps are $250 at Whitehorse for wrestling, where at Monument Valley, they just have an internal one at $35.
Right.
So that's there's a $220 difference just in that item alone. But I think it's also, how programs are doing and how well they're doing and the opportunities that come from that too. So I think there's probably some variance in that. Again, just looking at the different costs that I can see.
Well,
But
and some of
that would
that's
be-
coaching.
Right.
Like, you may have a coach who can hold their own camp, and you might have a coach that we're so excited that we have a coach because we didn't think we were going to get a coach, and they're looking to take them to a camp because they maybe have never even coached that sport or minimally have. They played it when they were younger and now coaching. So when you look at those camps, we have a wide range of camps in a number of sports of what they're participating in.
So my other question would be, and I think, this would come back to you, Jacob, Mr. Swanson, is, there might be some real logic in tracking the expenses of the spend plans and the fee waiver.
Sure.
And if money's, if money is ever an issue, then that's a bigger concern than if it's not an issue. If we're fine, we're fine. But there could be a time where we would look at really looking at, the differences that were just mentioned. Why is there such a big difference in some of these ideas of what one school's doing versus what one school's doing?
Sure.
But I think if we're fine financially, we're fine, and we're in a good spot. But the whole idea of why we are doing this is to give parents the opportunity to say the same things. If they don't have a fee waiver student, then this is going to be their costs. And this is a process for them to come forward and say, I think there's some things maybe out of balance. I think there's, maybe our camps don't have to be across the state, or maybe we could be here, or maybe we could do things more locally. I mean, I'm not advocating for one thing or the other. I'm just explaining that this is the process that allows our parents to have an input. For our fee waiver students, we are monitoring this process. We are the monitoring of trying to say, you know, are we doing fine financially?
Right.
And are we providing the right resources? Are in similar situations across our district? So be mindful of that.
Having been one of those parents and having daughters and sons, but most recently daughters in various activities, including cheer and drill, which you always ended up paying more than you thought you were going to at the beginning of the year, to have something that says this is as high as it can go is awesome. But it does need to be, they do need to be held to account, not just for the fee waiver students, but also for the parents that have extra unexpected costs come up, that they're like, wait, I thought this was, and now I'm $300 more than I budgeted for.
Sure. Well, and to Ron's point, if you're looking at a fee schedule and you see I might be having to pay $2,160 to have my student do wrestling, you know, it might not actually end up being that amount, but, you know, that's significant, so.
Yeah, that's why I'm just saying is that this is our time to just look at this, and it's a great open public process to, and really, I don't know that we've had, I don't know to what degree we've had public input into this that we've received. I sometimes wonder if it's a matter of the public understanding that this is the process right now and the opportunity, the window for them to, or if our public is feeling like, hey, it just costs a lot. It just costs a lot, but this is what we want our kids to do. And that's kind of what's all supposed to play out right here is, where is the public on this? Do they feel like, yes, it costs a lot, but this is what we want to provide for ours, and we want to provide maybe even more, I don't know, but anyway.
Well, and I do believe that our administrators are aware of a lot of this. And
Yeah,
so
a lot
they're
of this-
bringing that input in when they create these plans.
So we get that feedback often at the school level from the parents,
Yes.
and then that comes back to our
comes back
team, and
through
as
that
we
process.
discuss that, I mean, we heard quite a bit about when the meal amounts, when we increased the meal amount, and then this year, we heard a lot of feedback throughout the year from parents about the cost of the hotels and them having to stay in these really, what they didn't feel like were safe and adequate hotel stays. So in January in our Impact Aid, we had actually quite a bit of actual board meeting input. While we may not be getting it here, they've been giving that in a number of parent meetings throughout the year that we've been involved with, as well as at the school level, as well as from the principals, and then again at the Impact Aid hearing. So, I mean, that was something the board chose to change in the fee schedule, and we did get quite a bit of feedback on that. I just want to revisit back the White Horse and MV. So again, I think I think it goes back to that conversation of why is this so different. So if you just look at White Horse, they have 2 more nights stay than MV, which could just be a scheduling, right? If you look at their postseason play is exactly the same. Their camps are what, $35 difference in camps? I mean, that could be that one camp has a dorm they stay in, one has a hotel they stay in, or one provides more food or a t-shirt or something. When you look at their spirit packs, they're identical. MV does look like they're planning on a fundraiser, so that's $15. But the bulk of that difference is the food. So when you look at the difference in the number of meals, and again, that comes back to oftentimes to play. Like where are we going to play? Who are we going to play? What time do we play? As they're working together on that. And I'll just say, again, that it's only when they use that money do they spend it. So part of me, is what I've seen both as the secondary school supervisor and as the superintendent is, just even this past year, we had a team that went to play a team that wasn't that far away, and an individual got injured, and the bus had to wait until they were able to transport that injured student. So those students didn't even end up eating dinner that night because we didn't. I mean, we stopped and got them some snacks, at where we could stop, but like that, those are the types of things that happen that sometimes we maybe have cushioned this by a couple of meals, because the bus breakdowns, like, it's a hard situation sometimes. So I think when you look at this, our administrators, our ADs, and our coaches are doing the best they can to make the best prediction. And then if we don't use it, we don't use it, but at least it somewhat, helps.
I don't know if things have changed, but from my understanding, if that happens, we can, as a district, provide meals.
We absolutely can. And that one was
Because-
a different situation, just because they didn't bring any food for that, and they didn't plan on staying, so they thought they'd be able to get back to their school, no problem, but.
Because even our non-fee waiver
Yes.
students may not have money for that type of a situation.
Exactly.
So we would have to step in as a
We
district.
would, and the schools do have ways to cover, those emergencies that come up, but when you think about a school that has that many teams, I think sometimes what you're gonna see is they're planning, once they've had that happen, a coach is like, I'm gonna put one more meal on the spend plan, and if we use it, we use it, if we don't, we don't. So just be aware of that when it comes to the meals, that it might look a little bit different on the meals. But if we're looking at it on a spirit pack, or if we're looking at it on a camp, like, that's totally different than a meal. So anyway, that would be my encouragement, to consider that as they have that on there.
Do we have 2 viewings of this, or just the
This
one?
is the second viewing. So
Okay.
we had it on last month.
That's
and
right,
have
we
this month.
did, yeah.
And
there were-
the deadline has changed, so if the board wants to bring it back one more time, that is something that we can do. So if you feel like you need more time to look at it again, that's something we can do.
I guess my question would be, do we add the cushion? Do we need to add the cushion to the spend plan too? Or is that something that's already considered?
They've already.
As well? And then also, I think.
The possibility with the Spirit Bus changing some of the wording on
Yeah.
that is something that we've also discussed just now, so.
I believe the cushion is in there for these plans. That's why I was saying,
It
it seems
is.
like there's a much larger cushion in some cases.
And I
than
appreciate
that's
you
what I was
asking
bringing
for
up.
transparency related to that. I think it's good for us to have that information.
And I will say, like, even with some who probably get more parental feedback, you'll see in like the camps or some other fee that it's completely optional, and they dictate that in their plan as well too, so that they know, or they probably got questioned by a parent as well too, so they make that to where, it is the max cost, but oftentimes they're not getting to that max because of those cushions and stuff like that, so.
And we do track the meal money, because we do have fee waivers. So, I mean, we are tracking when we pay out fee waiver. We are very aware of
And might
those
be
numbers.
That's what I was mentioning, is it might be a good report to bring to the board is, a yearly look at our fee waiver expenses.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
What are we putting in fee waiver each year, and is it growing? Is it, where are we at on it?
Well, that's the best thing I think that we can come out of this, is asking for the data on it and knowing where it's trending and what's not trending. And of course, we have to take the inflation costs into consideration too, so.
And that, I think you have to keep in mind that if you add programs, you may add some funding. So year to year is not going to be exact, so you've got to keep that in mind. And then if you just look at overall, the intergenerational poverty index for San Juan County has decreased significantly. So the number of students that are fee waiver compared to in the past, I would estimate, because intergenerational poverty counts each year are going down dramatically, that you would also see that in your fee waiver costs going down as well. So there would be some correlation to that as well. And then your enrollment is also going down, so I would also expect that would go down as well, just from enrollment numbers, because we are seeing that slight drop every year. So just know you can get an idea, but there's going to be a lot of factors, which our business administrator can, if he shares that report, can discuss all of those with you. But it's not going to be an easy report like maybe we have for school and trust or something. So,
Sorry, Jacob, you're getting a new system that you get to.
No.
But I think it would be beneficial, because if that's something we can look back on and be able to say, hey, here's the numbers of this year and number of students and enrollment, everything that could factor into it, that would be beneficial to the board.
and if you do want to approve today, I would just add, you could check and say the Spirit Bus will be approved when team qualifies for a state championship game competition in the following sports, and you could list those like we used to have it, and then put, and will also qualify for the Spirit Bus in these sport, and then just have that second section. So I think we just could easily keep the wording how it is. If you pull up any of the schools' Spirit Bus right now, it's the old way of wording it, so we could leave that and then add this additional language. So, just a thought.
Okay. I kept you up here longer than, is everybody's brain still working?
It's a lot.
All right, thank you for all of the input and all the board members that shared your input as well. We do have 3 policies to go over. I think I'd like to try to do that, and then we can go to.
And the first 2 look pretty easy. I'm taking them on for Laura.
Okay.
So both of these are just some pretty minor changes. When you look at the cell phone policy, this is not student cell phone use. This is district employee cell phone use. So some language has been changed there under personal use, number 3. And just saying the allowable uses have been updated, as well as adding that it is subject to Government Records Access and Management Act, so GRAMA, and defining what that is. So it's just updating other policies that we've also updated recently to have that available. And then taking out a number of the things that are no longer applicable just because things have changed over the years. And then we used to have, you can see on the last page, page 2, number 1, that is not how we're paying that, so that has been removed. I don't know that you could, with varying cellular plans, how you could say 1/2 cost, like that doesn't make sense with everybody having different plans. And then same with, it is not a monthly allowance they're receiving, it's an annual allowance. While if an individual did work for the district only 3 months, that annual allowance would be averaged out for that portion, prorated, thank you, that was the word I was thinking of. So we just changed the language on that because we are not paying that monthly, we're paying it annually.
Just to note, Section 3 is only applicable for district-owned cell phones. I don't know that anybody currently has one, and I don't know that it'll happen in the foreseeable future, but if it does, that just updates that section. And, you can look at the old language there. It's very antiquated. I think this policy originally came out in the early 2000s. So it's just updating some of that language, but more likely than not, we probably won't have a district-owned phone that somebody is using. But we can think of potential situations where that could happen, so it's still worthwhile to have it in here.
And even a personal phone is still, could be grammar principle used for business. So I guess that's something we need to take back. Is that something that we need to add to the?
I don't know that it necessarily needs to
8270.
be in a policy. I mean, I as long as people are made aware, but if we want to
And we
add
do
it to the
that in
policy, it wouldn't
training,
be.
so.
Yeah, right.
Okay, I think we're good.
Okay. I'll let you go to the next one.
Okay.
Unless there's any questions. Sorry. Okay.
This next one is just a change. Senate Bill 52 made a change for long-term substitutes instead of the required language that's been, we have the strike-through on. It can now be, does not have to be filled by a non-licensed substitute, so that's why that language just changed on there. That's direct from legislation this year that was passed.
And that was the only one redlined, right?
Yep. Okay. So if you look at number 5.
Okay.
And a large portion of the time there are times when we are hiring a long-term sub because we don't have one available already. But Senate Bill 52 changed that regulation anyway, so we're just updating that language to match Senate Bill 52.
All right. Jacob, you can kind of explain this one to us, I hope.
All right. Oh, absolutely. So you might recall that last month we did the first reading of this. That at that time the board suggested that there be some language added to the policy to include scenarios where the board would be the one that have to approve grants other than grants that come through the approved state website, for instance, Utah grants. And this would be for both internal and external grants. So I did add a little bit here, I think just to make the read a little bit easier. I added in that definition section at the very beginning, just to help define some of the terms that I used later on in the section. So that's section 1 that you can see there. Then going on to section 2, sections 2 and 3 are the exact same as last month. I didn't change anything on those, but the big change that the board wanted to see from last month is in section 4. This was added, and it says that any grants other than those offered directly to the district by the approved state website have to be approved by the board if the grant would have a substantial impact on the district. And then if you go up to section 1 again, that's one of the terms that I defined up there. Substantial impact is defined as a grant that meets one of the following criteria. 1, it exceeds an aggregate of $1 million in the amount of which will directly impact the district or any of its operations. 2, the grant will require the district to create new or changed staffing positions. 3, the grant will require the district to match funds if the aggregate amount of matched funds would exceed $500,000. Or 4, the grant would require commitment by the district of more than 2 years. So I worked with superintendent and with our HR director, Laura Palmer, on the language here about what we would want to consider substantial impact that we'd want to bring to the board to say this is something that we want the board to approve rather than someone to do that internally. The monetary values and times, again, were selected by us. And then I also, in section 3, I use the term, and you go back to up to section 1, I use the term, what was that term I used? Up to the very top, material change. And so I figured it would be also worthwhile to define what a material change is. And so this is in relations to an external grant. If the external grant, if at any point in time the grant has a material change, as it's defined right here, then that definition would come into place. So that's all the explanation on that. Is there any questions on some of those updates there?
And just to reiterate, that was from last month, our discussion from last month.
Correct, yeah. Okay. So the last month, sections 2 and 3 were the new changes. So those are changed from the current policy, but I didn't change anything from last month to this month on 2 and 3. So we talked about 2 and 3 last time. That just created a process for approving grants, especially external grants, that would require, setting up a committee, having people fill out an application for a grant form for external grants. And then it was brought to my attention, there might be some grants that it makes sense to have the board be the final approver on. And so that's the language that I added for this month.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think you did a great job of explaining that.
Okay.
Thank you again. So any other comments or questions? No. All right, I think it's time to get our brain power working with some fuel. So we will temporarily adjourn for dinner. Thank you. We don't. So quiet. Welcome guests and district employees and other staff and community members. At this time, we would like to publicly recognize 2 very awesome San Juan School District employees. So I think we'll go ahead and start with the one from last month, and that is JJ Grover. So would you come on up and we will say all the good things about you.
Okay.
All the good things.
Okay, JJ Grover, district-wide CTE Pathways Coordinator. CTE Director, Ms. Grover, and Pathway Director JJ Grover are always working hard supporting all the CTE programs throughout the district. It makes a CTE teacher's job a lot more easy knowing that we all can call on them anytime and get great support working through any conflict we may have. Thank you for everything. And that was nominated by a CTE teacher. A nomination, I should say. Big shout out to Janine Grover and JJ Grover for all their help in making State Skill USA such a success this year. They went above and beyond making sure that students had all their gear and uniforms for their competitions, helping transport students from one end of Salt Lake City to Provo, getting hockey tickets and to help helping supervise students in their downtime. Thank you. And that was a nomination from Craig Swenson. So thank you very much for all that you do for our school district. Yay, JJ. Yes. Over here, okay. JJ has been an outstanding addition to our staff at ARL over the past few weeks. In particular, he has handled the stress and the workload of online learning schedules, course creation, parent meetings, and options changes with patience and persistence. Despite the fact that he has been completely overloaded with these added pressures, he always makes himself available for students and welcomes them into his office for whatever they may need. Nomination, Ryan Palmer. Last but not least here, JJ truly cares about the students and success of all the CTE program at the school. He works hard to create opportunities for students to learn real-world skills and discover their strengths. JJ takes the time to support and encourage each student, helping them see their potential and prepare for their future. His dedication to the CTE program shows in the way he advocates for his students, builds strong programs, and make sure they have meaningful experiences that will benefit them beyond the classroom. That was anonymous. That's awesome.
Okay, go ahead and come on up, Kayla Bradford.
She was fixing a chair as she was sitting there waiting, so.
For everybody to see. Sam, one sweet job was awarded to Kayla Bradford, the administrative assistant at the district office. And that's only a small title of what she does in that. Kayla Bradford helps keep several district directors and the assistant superintendents organized. As you can imagine, supporting people with differing responsibilities and areas of focus is a challenge. Kayla does this with a rare level of precision. She keeps the big picture in mind as she integrates the small details of and reminders. Kayla is great at looking ahead on the calendar and collaborating to make sure events are well planned. To top it all off, she is an amazing cook. The simple meals and treats that she prepares are awesome, though they have helped support my growing recently. Thank you for all that you do, Kayla. And that was I am thrilled to nominate Kayla Bradford for the San Juan Sweet Job Award. Since starting my new role, Kayla has been my primary guide, patiently teaching me the ins and outs of the position and ensuring I have the knowledge to succeed. Beyond her mentorship, she is a logistical powerhouse. Whether she is flawlessly coordinating lunches for our training sessions or managing the daily complexities of the office, she keeps everything running smoothly. Her dedication and proactive support make her an invaluable asset to our team and the San Juan School District, and that was Wendy Haas. What can I say about Kayla? She is the undisputed rock star of our district. Many people might not realize just how many moving parts she manages, but the truth is, our systems rely on her vast expertise to keep running. Kayla doesn't just do what's asked of her, she proactively looks for ways to help others. Whether it's her wealth of knowledge or the warm way she greets every person by name, she embodies the best of us. We are incredibly lucky to have her. And that was Jeff Winga, and I second everything that was said here. I'm so grateful to know you and that you are a part of our district team. Congratulations. See? Okay, thank you, guests. You're welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting, or you can leave at this time. Thanks for coming and supporting our great employees.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comments? Okay. Let's jump back on the agenda. The next thing is the strategic planning collateral, so I'll turn that over to
All
Kristen.
right, and we had a lot of feedback given, but we do not have a collateral to show you, so we'd like to ask for this item to come back to the board next month.
That was quicker than 5 minutes, thank you. All right, so we're back to you. Jacob.
Okay, I will not be as fast as superintendent was, but I'll do my best. All right, just pulling up that link there, BES progress report. So the board had the opportunity to come and visit the Blanding Elementary School today. The school is making a lot of progress. They're working on punch items right now, and what that means is they've gone through the building at all the things that have already been done, which is at this point most everything on the inside of the building, not necessarily on the outside of the building. And they're just marking those items that need some touch-up work. And last week is when they started those punch items, and they've been going through and working on those since. And then if you just go through the photos here, this past, I don't know if it was a week or 2 weeks ago, I can't quite remember, but they put in the sod. So the grass is up there now. They've started watering that too, and so it's looking really good at this point. Landscaping is ongoing. Millwork is ongoing throughout the school. Lighting and access controls are ongoing on the inside of the building. The fence around the retention pond at this point is complete. Window shades have been installed throughout the building. You can see them on that last picture. If you want to just go back one there, Mason. At the very top, you can see the gym there. That's where some of those shades are on that. And so just there's shades all throughout the building, in the cafeteria and a lot of other places that the shades have all been put in as well. The murals in the corridors have been installed, as you can see in the next picture. There's a mural in each of the corridors, and there's 3 corridors, and this is just one of the murals there, and they look fantastic. The fence again is up, and we made some adjustments to the fence too that you might have noticed, just to make it so the sign there at the front would be more visible to cars passing by on both directions there. So again, everything is looking great there. We're still they're looking on schedule right now, and they've been great to work with. There's a picture of the media center. That's the reception area, cafeteria, and we've also finalized. Well, we've gotten the quote back for the furniture, and so here in the next couple of weeks, we'll probably have finalized our pricing and our needs for furniture at the school as well. Any questions on Blanding Elementary School?
So the furniture, is that something that will come before us, or is that?
No, it shouldn't
Okay.
need to, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The vendor's on a state contract, a state cooperative contract, so
Okay.
we don't have to go through
Great.
the ordinary routes that way, and so we just vetted it ourselves to try to get the best price for the best quality. And the rep that we've been working with, Superintendent I met with him several times. He's been fantastic to work with, and so he's been helping us with our furniture needs there.
All right, and I think most of us were able to walk around the school today. Did you get a little bit of that today?
No.
You didn't? Oh, I thought.
I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't make it this early today? Okay. So 3 of us, which is still most of us, sorry.
Still a majority, that's right.
Okay. And yeah, it's exciting.
All right, moving on to the capital follow-up. So the link here has been a little finicky. We got it from the contractor there, the very bottom one. Pictures of the San Juan High vestibule. The board also had a chance to come visit. Yeah, it might make me sign in there. The pictures, honestly, seeing it in person was a lot better anyway, and so I can just describe some of the work that's been ongoing. They've got a lot of the inside going now. All the framing is up in there. All the framing on the outwork is up. They've done some of the can't think of the word, not soffit, but some of the metalwork. That's the word I'm looking for. The metalwork on the outside, the windows, those are ongoing as well. They redid the concrete there that went from the parking lot to the front of the school. It was in really bad shape, and so we decided to add that on too and get that updated for, to avoid the trip hazard that was there for that concrete. And yeah, at any point in time, I can send those pictures to you as well, since the link is being a little finicky for that. But the progress is ongoing there as well, and hopefully here in the next month or two, we'll start the punching and get the project wrapped up for San Juan High School. I think that is it for capital updates. Oh, actually, let's move on to Albert R. Lyman and Monticello High School. So these ones, the construction is just right around the corner for these. We had our pre-construction meeting just today with our contractor and a few of our subcontractors as well. Potentially as early as this month, but as late as into May or even June, we should start breaking ground on some of those construction works at both ARL and Monticello High School. So, and that again is Trihurst, the same company that's doing our vestibule projects for Montezuma Creek Elementary School and San Juan High School. So.
And they will be doing them at the same time?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the scopes are different, just like they were with Montezuma Creek and San Juan, so they won't be finalized at the same time. The scope at Albert R. Lyman's a lot bigger than the scope at Monticello High School, and so
Okay.
they'll be a little bit staggered in that way, but yeah.
Okay.
Did you say we finished at Montezuma Creek Elementary or not yet? Or when will they move in?
So they've already been able, I think, at this point
Okay.
to move in. I think there's one, what's called an RFI, a request for information, that's still pending, and it's a very minor thing, and I don't know if it's something that is worth noting in the board or not, but for all intents and purposes, it's pretty much wrapped up at this point. So,
Great, thank you.
and that's why you'll notice that the pictures haven't been updated for that one, just because nothing new to report picture-wise. So,
Okay.
all right. Any questions on capital updates?
No. Okay. I
All
guess
right.
not.
Am I next on here too? Yes, I
Yes.
am. Okay. Fraud risk assessment. So this is a requirement that we have to do every year. It's not necessarily something that it's not something that we have to have board approval on. It's just something that the board reviews. So every year I will present this to you, the fraud risk assessment and the annual ethics pledge as well. And this is an opportunity for us to just review all the things in here. You can see the risk levels there. Just, I guess, for simplicity's sake, our score is exactly the same as it was last year. There wasn't any change. And I think while Tyrell was here and with past business administrators as well, they worked really hard on getting this number up so that we can stay in that very low risk level. And so there wasn't any changes on there. And if you scroll down, the first question that's worth the most points is just based upon this, just making sure that, let me see what exactly the name of that is here just real quick. You want to just scroll up there real quick on that, Mason? Yeah, so just making sure that we have adequate separation of duties or mitigating controls. And so you'll notice that we answered yes on all of those. We do have one that except for one, and if you scroll down, not on this page, I'm sorry. On this page, all of them are yes except for the one, number 3, mitigating controls. This is in relation to our, man, I'm forgetting words today, you guys. Media center. Oh, my goodness, I'm so sorry. Media center. So our media center. So they do collect cash payments, and they're also the ones that put those in. But our crew up at the business office make sure that those are checked and accounted for to make sure that so that's why we have a mitigating control on that one. So that's why we're able to answer that as a yes on the very first page of this and giving us those 200 points. And then again, if we wanted to go to the next document on there. the annual ethics pledge. This is one of the questions on the fraud risk assessment too. Have you all taken an annual ethics pledge? And so after all of you had a chance to review this, we just would ask for signatures from each of you saying that I pledge to do all of these things. All right, and that is it for the annual fraud risk assessment. Sorry, I'm forgetting words today, you guys, but we got through it one way or another.
Do you want us to bring that ethics pledge? Is that, how do you want us?
I can get it. I don't know if it was, I don't think I had Eva print that off, and that's my fault, but I can get that printed off just right before everybody heads out, and I can have you sign it before we leave today just to make sure that it gets done, and then we can give it to the state.
Okay.
So.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, I have 8 minutes on here. I don't think I'm going to take 8 minutes, but I am going to encourage all of you, this is board training and development, to, and I can get you another copy if you need to, just to kind of review the list of things that I made and shared at last meeting. Just things that we should be doing as board members, can be doing, just keeping ourselves accountable. Please email me, text me, say, you know, what about this, or maybe we don't need this. So I'm just asking you all to be part of the process, you know, help me out. And then also I shared something about mobbing last time, and I realized, having been a new board member fairly recently, showing up at board meeting and going, what's going on here? I feel uninformed. What's the rest of the story? And so I'm not necessarily going to say what's the rest of the story, but I am going to say that I apologize for throwing the idea of mobbing at all of you. I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that it is something that happens in workplaces. And if you want more details, please reach out to anybody in the district. I think as the the board that provides oversight for the district management, we need to be aware of things, but we also need to be sure that we're verifying with true data. You know, if somebody comes to us and says so-and-so's not doing their job, do we just automatically believe them, or do we get the rest of the story? And so that's pretty much why I shared that. If you have any questions, like I said, you're welcome to reach out. But I just feel like we need to do our best to be very transparent, but also very mindful of how we operate, how we support our people, and what stories we listen to, and how we internalize them. So thank you for that. And I think the next thing we need to do is probably go into closed session. And at this time, that would be related to the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property. So if I can get a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Go ahead.
To go into closed session.
Okay, is there
second.
Motion.
All right, so yeah, we have these two, first and second. And then roll call.
Ron Nielsen, yes.
Lucille Cody, yes.
Coley Benelli, yes.
Nan Barton, yes.
Don Mose, yes.
Okay, at this time, we will be going into closed session related to purchase, exchange, or lease.
The gospel.
All right, welcome back. We have completed all the main.
Hearing about it, it just sounded really good.
We have completed all the main items on our agenda, so the next portion of our meeting is in regards to the consent agenda. So, if I could get a motion regarding the consent agenda.
I motion
That we approve.
that we approve the consent agenda.
I will second it.
Okay, any discussion related to the consent agenda at this time?
I had a question, but I don't remember what it was. Yeah.
So we did make some changes to the MOA with the City of Blanding, and I think that's just to keep in alignment with state. Is that correct?
Correct. And we left those highlighted for you so you could see the ones that needed compliance in the contract renewal that's required now by the state through legislation and code. there was also an increase in the cost.
There was an inflationary wage change as
Yes.
well.
And this agreement would be, that cost would be in place for the next 3 years, so the same cost. So it wouldn't go up again for another 3 years
Okay.
with this agreement.
And we don't control who that person is necessarily. It's whoever the city of Blanding recommends for that position. Okay. Any questions or discussion related to that?
So will this go to Blanding City Police also, and then we'll negotiate if they want any other changes, or is this?
We've already been working with them
Okay.
with this agreement.
Yeah, we met with the city manager
Okay.
and sat down to discuss the language in this contract, so.
So they're in agreement to it
Yeah.
as well? Okay.
Okay, would you also explain to me a little bit of clarity with the authorizing the business administrator to approve authorized signers?
So before on the accounts, it was just enough for the business administrator to approve new and former signers and to remove signers. They just have a new thing in place to where they're requiring the board to say that the business administrator has the authority to authorize who the signers are on all of our accounts. And this is, I mean, we've got several. We've got a different account for each one of our schools, for the media center, and so we're bringing that to you today just to say that I have the authority to, as we have in the past, to change who the authorized signers are on those accounts.
Makes it an official action by the board to authorize him to do that on behalf of the school district.
Okay.
And we wouldn't need to see approval of who the signers are or anything like that? It would just be
No.
authorizing you to?
Yeah, and that's how it was done in the past, is
Okay.
that the business administrator just always had the authority to.
It just needs updated now.
Gotcha.
I'm just gonna encourage any other, I don't remember.
Oh, the,
Audit committee.
Yes.
I'm okay with what's listed.
are you sure?
Yeah.
Because we can,
Yeah, my person just couldn't make the time, so.
gotcha. Okay.
I'm sorry I didn't follow up with you on that.
No worries, no worries.
So I'm okay with that.
So I don't know if everyone saw that as well, but we do have two people that our audit committee recommended from the community, and they have already been spoken with and have agreed to be on the audit committee here, so.
And when will we start with that, or when?
So after it's approved, it'll technically, our committee will be formed.
Okay.
It's just a matter of, at that point, I'll set up times with them for their first project
Okay.
to come in and approve our auditing company, the organization that will do our audits for the next 5 years.
Right.
So,
Okay, thank you.
but I guess it's also worth noting that, just based upon board policy, that the auditing committee does have some other responsibilities that they can potentially do, and that would include things like if there's a situation for an internal audit, that they could be asked to help out with some of that. And if things like that were to progress, and if we were to look at our policy there, there is some training that's required that I believe comes from the board president or the presidency. Don't quote me on that, but yeah. But for now, suffice it to say, we need an auditing committee just to select the auditor. That cannot happen by any employee of the school district. We are not allowed to select our auditors, so.
Okay. Thanks for the clarification. I don't have any other questions.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions?
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, if we'll move down to the possible action items. The first would be regarding the National Unity Conference.
I motion to approve the Unity Club students to attend the National Unity Conference in Oklahoma City.
I'll second.
Do we also need to address the Native Youth Council, or is that?
They're
good?
all part of Unity Club.
Okay. So we have a motion for that and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Okay, regarding the letter of support for traditional healing services through Medicaid.
I'll make a motion to approve the letter of support for traditional healing services through Medicaid.
I'll second.
Any discussion related to that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have one opposed. That's Lucille. Okay, regarding the elementary math curriculum adoption.
I'll make a motion to approve the Desmos math for the curriculum adoption beginning in the 2026-2027 school year for the grades K through 6th grade.
Second.
Okay, any discussion related to that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Okay. School land trust plans for school year.
I motion to approve the 2027 school land trust plans as presented, or with the following adjustments.
Did we need to change anything? We did. Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. The next is the spend plans. Again, this is the second viewing. We could table it, or we can go ahead and make a motion. Yeah, I think we can.
Wasn't
If
it
you look at the-
suggested?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026-2027 spends plans as presented, and to approve the updated criteria for the Spirit Bus plan as we discussed, or as will be approved as when a team qualifies for a championship game in a major sport, volleyball, girls basketball, boys basketball, or football, they would qualify. When a team is ranked in the top 2 teams in the RPI in volleyball, girls basketball, and boys basketball, they would qualify. When a cheer, girls wrestling, or boys wrestling team takes first in the division, would be the qualifications for the Spirit Bus.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion?
No.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes also.
I'll make a motion to approve San Juan School District Policy 8270, use of school facilities, use of cellular phone.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the next one is the policy 4180. Substitutes.
I motion to approve policy 4180, substitutes.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next one is policy 3100.
I motion to approve San Juan School District Policy 3100, Financial Administrative Procedures.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we won't be moving forward with the strategic planning collateral, so
You bring that back.
the next item is the possible advertising for Blanding Elementary.
I'll make a motion to approve the school district to advertise that is accepting bids for the purchase of the old Blanding Elementary School.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion related to that? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Was this part of the consent agenda and I didn't notice it?
No, we put it so that you could have an individual discussion as needed.
Okay.
It could have been part of consent, but we chose to
Okay.
do it this way. So it'd be its separate item.
Okay, this is an action item. We have not discussed it yet, but we'll go ahead and look at the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority.
Utilities.
Yeah, is asking for a right-of-way agreement, so.
I believe any sort of transfer of land, even a transfer of land like a right-of-way, has to be approved by the board. And this is just for them to be able to use that land to put in fiber lines for Montezuma Creek housing.
Okay.
So you are recommending we approve this?
I would recommend that at this time. It's something that was already allowed for Emory Telecom to come and do. And so just for the sake of fairness, and, you know, it's also with the tribal authority too. And so I just think it's the right move, but leave that up to the board for.
So we need to vote on this, and then I would sign.
Right.
Okay.
And what I recommend is if you think you want it, put a motion and then we can have a further discussion.
All right, I make a
Before you vote.
motion to approve the Navajo Tribal Utility Authority Utilities Right-of-Way Agreement.
Perfect.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion related to that?
I have a question as to, will they be breaking ground, or how much will the work go into it, or?
So I don't know how much ground that they'll have to break because there might be the already existing line there. I don't know. Mason might not know any more information than I do on this, but if he does, he's welcome to chime in. But before they do anything, I think we're going to do a walkthrough just to see what all of the potential action is there. And if it's something that becomes too intrusive, then.
So is this, how timely is this? I mean, could we let you do that walkthrough and then bring this back to the board next month?
So they actually they didn't give a lot of a timeline here, and I said that I couldn't unilaterally sign off on it. That this was supposed to have been signed for them for a grant that they have going on sometime near the end of March. And I said, this is the best I can do. I can have the board approve this right now, and then we can do the walkthrough after that. And so there's more to this that I personally signed the agreement to have them do the walkthrough and show me the length of work that they're doing, but I said I cannot myself sign off on the utility right away.
And I do see that it says that they agree to restore the lands as nearly as possible to their
Mhm.
original condition. So that is important to.
Right.
So once they do the
Ensure, so-
walkthrough, would we,
What is our?
It would need to be the board that has to do a walkthrough.
Right.
I think I could do the walkthrough, but once we do that, and I'll do that with Jared Brown as well, just as the IT director to get his input on that project, but.
but if it's more involved, then, then we're thinking, then do you bring that back to the board, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So we're just granting right of way at this point.
Yeah.
Any other discussion related to this?
Could we stress that we would like this before the grant ends or expires? So that way we have a little more timely manner on this as well to,
Ensure that it's not.
yeah, to ensure that we're, and then also them too, that they're not gonna go more than what we were thinking
More than
as
the
well.
scope?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
So if we could do that, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we have a motion and we have a second. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. So I think we've reached the end, so let's go on to information items.
Well, the information item is that we will have our next board meeting on May 12th here at the district office.
Now that's new. One information item.
April, now that we have spring break when we have it and no Easter break and no snow day,
Okay.
that's all you get, is to come back in May.
Thank you all for your participation today and for everyone being actively invested in the success of our students. We do need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Third.
All in favor?